Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve. Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Friday drama here with episodes of Arch Obolers Plays, the Screen Guild Players production of Casablanca, also Edward Pawley in Big Town, Paul Dubov as Jeff Regan Investigator, and Claudia. That's all coming up on this Friday. This is the 26th day of April, 117th day of the year, 117th day of the year, 249 days left till we get to 2024. Confederate General Joseph Johnston surrendered his army to General William Tecumseh Sherman on this date in 1865 at the Bennett Place near Durham, North Carolina. On that same date, cavalry troopers of the Union cornered and shot dead John Wilkes Booth, President Lincoln's assassin, in Virginia. In 1933, the Gestapo, the official secret police of Nazi Germany, established, and in 1938, the March of Dimes was founded to combat polio.
The fight against the disease of infantile paralysis has proven beyond a doubt that the way democracy works, the voluntary way, is efficient and is successful. Today, as in these many years past, we continue this great crusade, made possible not by a few large gifts, but by the dimes and the dollars of the people of the nation themselves.
President Roosevelt, whose founding of the march led him to be placed on the dime in 1946. In 1962, NASA's Ranger 4 spacecraft crashed into the moon. As I recall, it was intended to do that. In 1972, President Nixon announced an additional 20,000 U.S. troops would be withdrawn from Vietnam over the next 2 months in an effort to get our country out of this no-win war.
My fellow Americans, let us therefore unite as a nation in a firm and wise policy of real peace. Not the peace of surrender, but peace with honor. Not just peace in our time, but peace for generations to come.
As American withdrawals continued, North Vietnam would gain momentum and Saigon would fall within 3 years. And let me just say this. The worst part about all of this is that the U.S. wasn't permitted to prosecute the war. And that's something that a lot of young people don't know. We lost Vietnam. We lost Vietnam because when America was in there, the UN wouldn't permit a prosecution. They wanted to stabilize it and not make somebody pay, like is happening now in Israel. Now, in 1984, President Reagan arrived in China for a 6-day visit, the third by a U.S. president since President Nixon's breakthrough trip in 1972.
Although we reside in far corners of the world, having a good friend is akin to having a good neighbor. The essence of that observation is as true today as it was when it was penned. In that spirit, President Lee, I come to China representing the sincere desire of the American people to be good neighbors to the Chinese people.
The freedom-filled speeches of the president, which China promised would be aired live, instead were ran as heavily edited portions of those speeches, which, some things haven't changed when it comes to China. In Ukraine in 1986, a nuclear reactor accident occurred at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, creating the world's worst nuclear disaster.
От Совета Министров СССР.
An official announcement from the Council of Ministers. There has been an accident at the Chernobyl atomic power station. One of the atomic reactors was damaged. The consequences of the accident are being taken care of. Help is being given to the victims of the accident. A government commission has been set up.
Recently, there was a disaster in our country. the Chernobyl nuclear power station accident. It deeply affected Soviet people and disturbed world public opinion.
The cleanup of Chernobyl is scheduled for completion in 2065. And quite honestly, the whole situation at Chernobyl was botched. One would think today that with our advanced technology that we could finally get nuclear power right. But unfortunately, no, it's not permitted to happen. In 1991, 70 tornadoes broke out in the central U.S. before its end, and over Kansas would record the year's only F5 tornado, at the top of the tornado scale. 2018, Bill Cosby found guilty of sexual assault, and in 2019, Marvel Studios' blockbuster film Avengers Endgame released. It became the highest-grossing film of all time, surpassing the previous box office record of Avatar. Among those passing away on this date in history, John Wilkes Booth, Edward Arnold of Mr. President fame, as we hear him here, actress Gypsy Rose Lee, Granny from the Hillbillies, Beverly Hillbillies, Irene Ryan, from Dallas, Jim Davis passing away, also musician and composer Count Basie, one more time. Broderick Crawford, whom we heard recently here on the program, passing away of a stroke in 1986. We also lost in 1989 Lucille Ball. Wonderful movie and radio performer, but best known as I Love Lucy. From In the Heat of the Night and the Route 66 TV, writer-producer Sterling Silliphant passing away on this date. You remember him from Lou Grant. Did some wonderful radio roles as well. Mason Adams passing away on this date. The Poetry Man. Phoebe Snow's great hit. Phoebe Snow passing away on this date. George Jones. He stopped loving her today. George Jones passing away on this date. And Mrs. Steve Allen, Jane Meadows, also passing away on this date in history. Now, among those born on this date, Chief O'Hara in the 60s Batman, Stafford Rep born on this date. The teen idol who recorded Wild One and Volare, Bobby Rydell, was born on this date. And the guy who sang about the Dreamweaver, Gary Wright, who passed away in 2023 at the age of 80. Gary Wright, born on this date in history.
Hi, this is Jeff Foxworthy. It is now time for the birthday announcements. The following people are now officially older than dirt.
The Rebel Rouser, Dwayne Eddy, 86 years old today. You remember that? Dong, 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 dong. Fun song. The man behind the Midnight Express soundtrack and the Donna Summer singles, Giorgio Moroder, is 84 today. Duran Duran's drummer Roger Taylor is 64. From Mad TV, Deborah Wilson is 62. From Once Upon a Time in China, Jet Li is 61. From King of Queens and Kevin Can Wait, Kevin James, 59. He is now the mayor of Knox County, Kentucky. Libertarian, politician, but best remembered for most of us as the masked wrestler Kane. Glenn Jacobs, 57. First Lady Melania Trump, 54. From Smallville, Tom Welling is 47. And actor Channing Tatum is 44. And we cannot leave out the young lady who always tugged on her ear. Carol Burnett, 91 years old today. And all those wonderful Carol Burnett shows she did, that was the theme of, let's see, they're available for free with ads on Tubi TV, Pluto TV, Freevee, Peacock, Peacock Premium, and the Roku channel. They're also available on Fubo TV, Broadway HD, and Crackle. Those are subscription channels. And you can download them from Amazon Video. Of course, it costs you. And they're all available on shout-tv.com. So Carol Burnett's legacy is still around. And you can, on YouTube, you can find a lot of the stuff that she did with Gary Moore, which was totally hilarious. Happy 91st birthday to Carol Burnett. Those just a few of the people who celebrate the 26th day of April is their birthday. If this is your birthday,
happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller. Now we're going to start off this edition of Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox with an episode of Arch Obolers Plays. This goes back 79 years to April 26, 1945, a wartime story entitled The House I Live In. And that is next.
In times of economic uncertainty and chaos, your money means nothing. You may not even be able to get it from your bank or ATM. And the money you do have in the stock market will go down and down. What you can bank on is gold and silver. Gold and silver have been a reliable and trusted form of currency for thousands of years. Gold and silver have never been worth zero, and typically gold holds its value during economic turmoil. Call the Gold Hotline now and learn how to protect your money and your assets with gold and silver. And learn how to set up a new IRA or roll over your current one into a gold-backed IRA. Protect your money from the next market crash with gold and silver. Call now for your free gold guide.
800-515-6302. 800-515-6302. 800-515-6302. That's 800-515-6302.
Yes, Arch Obler could do some spooky, scary, mean stories. But Arch Oboler could tug the heartstrings, and I think that's what you're going to hear in this episode of the Mutual series, Arch Obolers Plays, from 79 years ago, April 26, 1945. This program called The House I Live In.
Mutual presents Arch Obolers Plays. The Mutual Broadcasting System has the pleasure of presenting the third broadcast of a special 26-week series of plays by radio playwright Arch Oboler. In this series, we hope to bring you dramas full of the excitement and the meaning of plays told in relation to the expanding world in which we live. The play will be introduced by Arch Oboler.
Everyone is talking about the post-war home. Houses that'll be bought in packages and erected while you wait with a tack hammer and a button hook. They talk about vacuum glass walls and radiant heating and coal lighting and organic living and kitchen sinks, which will include everything but the kitchen sink. I read these notes about the brave new house, and then I heard a song. And by that peculiar reverse alchemy of a playwright's mind, I've written a play, which my friend Raymond Massey will now bring you, which is about the house I live in, but which has nothing to do with plastics or packaged conveniences, but which has to do with a man's heart.
I want to tell you about the house I live in. I want to tell you how the house that had been mine lost its walls, and all the rooms were filled with rubble, and a dust arose. And when I looked again, the house was gone. bomb that fell? Bomb? Bomber over Elm Street, USA.
But you say your house disappeared. How did it disappear?
I'm going to tell you. The morning began as so many others had begun since Tom and Elsa had gone. Again, I hadn't slept. I opened the front door, stood on the front porch, and watched the daylight slowly wake up the street. It had rained during the night. I had listened to every drop. And now the light lit up the wet leaves as the trees shook themselves in the morning wind. Another day, and I was waiting for 8 o'clock.
Sorry, Mr. Rogers, nothing today.
You sure? Perhaps the letter...
Sorry, Mr. Rogers, nothing today. Maybe it'll come tomorrow.
I already knew about tomorrow.
Sorry, Mr. Rogers, nothing today. You know, it takes a long time for a letter to get to Elm Street from Japan.
I went back into the house. Chairs, table, sofa. The piano Elsa had played. The piano Elsa had played. I went upstairs. Tom's room just as it had been. His bed, his typewriter on the desk. His track shoes hanging from the side of that chair he had made in manual training. Just the way it had been that last night.
Sure, Dad, sure, all packed. Come on in, sit down. Socks? What do I want to take more socks for? But, Dad, didn't you ever hear of GI issue? Say, Dad, will you do something for me? All this junk here, will you hand it out to those Margolis kids down the street? Yeah. Yeah, the baseball and the mitt. Remember when I broke my thumb on that hot liner? Oh, you better not give them the football until fall, because if you give it to them now, there won't be much of it left by then. Hey, Dad, did you hear about that? I'm getting farsighted. Dad, my track shoes, everything but my track shoes. I'll be doing a little running when I get back, if I'm still young enough. Me and my long gray beard doing the high hurdles. Oh, come on, Dad, it isn't as bad. Well, look, I'll be back soon. Don't you read the papers? Why, this war with the Japolas won't last 6 months once I get over there. Dad, well, this is just a guess, but I got a hunch we'll be starting to bomb Tokyo soon. Well, it's just a hunch, but if it happens, I'm going to be in on it, and, well, I'll send you a bird's-eye picture of the Emperor's horse. Dad, something else. And we almost got married last week, and then we didn't. Yeah. Oh, no, it was me. I wanted her to have a chance to change her mind if I stayed away too long. And she found out that absence didn't make the heart. Well, you know. If she needs anything, well, keep an eye on her, will you? Thanks. How much time have I got left? Is that all? You watch. You sure you watch? Okay. I just want to sit here a little bit and look around. Yeah. Funny, I've always had so much time. Now I've only got enough to sit here. It's a swell room. A good house. And a good life. Hey, hearts and flowers. Okay, Dad, get the car out. I'm all ready to go.
Ready to go. Ready to go where? Tom, if I only knew where you were. Or if you were. Elsa's room. The silly room, I'd call it, with its frippery, billowing curtains, cretonne flounces on the dressing table at which she'd sat so many times, covering with glamour a face that was so very young.
Dad, come on in. Dad, do you think this makeup's too dark? My lipstick? Well, I know it's red. It's the reddest I could get. Oh, Dad, this is a terrible thing to say, but I'm going to miss dressing up like this. Oh, that's silly. It's a beautiful uniform and a beautiful chance, and I want it. I'll miss all the frills. If they heard me talk, they'd pull up the gangplank before I got there. Tomorrow? 6 o'clock. Dad, I'd rather you didn't come down to the station. No, it isn't that. I just don't want... Dad, please. Just the way you did when Tom... Just let me go alone. Thank you, darling. Dad, I may not get another chance, so I'll say it again. Please, please don't forget to take the coffee pot off the stove every morning. If you burn the bottom out of it, I'll... All right, I believe you. And eat right, Dad. Vegetables. Please have at least one vegetable a day. And beer isn't a vegetable. If I come back and find you as fat as Patty's pig, I'm going to... Oh, Dad, I wish I had another week. Even another day. To make sure you'll be all right. I think I've arranged everything about the meals and the laundry and about the cleaning. If I were only sure you'd be all right. Oh, I shouldn't talk like that. You'll be all right, and I'll be all right, and Tom is all right. Hey, gosh, I'm late for my date. Turn out the lights for me, will you, Dad?
Everything as it had been, but now a place I couldn't stay in. Out into the street, to walk as I had done so many times before, until the circle of my aimless steps brought me back to this empty house I lived in. I had made the walk so many times. 50 steps and that silly little Pekingese of Mrs. Englehart's would see me pass and yap at me. Another dozen steps and the broken piece of sidewalk in front of the Andrews place. Then the iron picket fence Tom used to run along when he was small, banging his stick along the iron pickets as he ran, so half the neighborhood knew his nibs was free of school for another day. I passed a big oak tree where Elsa would stand with her girlfriends when she was very young and giggle when the latest football hero passed. Laughter. Children's laughter. They'd laugh, too. They'd been full of laughter, my children.
Oh, no.
Tom, this one. Look at this one.
Holy... Oh, wait a minute. Give me that.
Oh, no.
Dad, make her give it to me. Elsa, give it.
Oh, no. This one goes to your commanding officer.
Elsa, if you don't give me that picture...
It's a museum
Elsa, I'm coming around that table and break your neck.
Listen, Tragstar, it won't do you any good. I've got duplicates.
No, Elsa. Dad, don't just stand there. Do something.
Taking any chances. Got 2 dozen printed up.
Oh, Dad, you shouldn't have given it.
He said to clean out the drawer, so I did.
But Elsa...
I'll mail it to Hap Arnold, and they'll paint it on the nose of your bum.
Elsa, my sister, you snake in the grass?
Pretty words won't get you anywhere.
Please.
This makes up for every time you paddled me.
Elsa.
Oh, Dad, this is the most wonderful going-away present.
Elsa, dear.
My beautiful, conceited brother at the age of 3 riding naked on a white horse. Oh, brother.
My steps went past the children's laughter. The endless circle of my aimless steps. Johnson's boy suddenly was there, walking alongside of me.
Can I walk with you, Mr. Rogers?
All right.
I heard a funny joke today. A man was riding along and he got lost. You know, he didn't know where he was, and he went up to a farmer and he said to the farmer, "Where's the road to town?" The farmer said, "I don't know." And the fellow said, "Well, where's the road to the other town?" The farmer said, "I don't know." And the fellow said, "Well, where's the road to some other town?" The farmer said, "I don't know." And the fellow said, "You don't know much, do you?" And the farmer said, "No, but I ain't lost." Funny joke, huh, Mr. Rogers?
Yeah. Very funny.
I got a new harmonica.
Have you?
Do you play the harmonica?
No.
I can. My ma said, please get out of the house if you're going to play that. I got a headache. Why do heads ache, Mr. Rogers?
Loud noises, unnecessary conversations, worry.
You got worries, Mr. Rogers?
What's that song you were playing? A moment ago.
I don't know. You got worries, Mr. Rogers?
Play your harmonica, son.
Okay.
Suddenly I realized that his eyes were on me, as if he wanted to say something to me, yet was afraid to speak. And then he did speak.
You take such big steps, Mr. Rogers.
Sorry. That better?
Yes.
You going anywhere in particular, son?
No, sir.
No school today?
Saturday.
Oh, I forgot.
You didn't know it was Saturday?
Sometimes one day gets to be like another.
Mr. Rogers, listen, you must wait. Jimmy Doolittle go over with 1,000 flying forts, and he'll get Tom out. You just wait and see. Jimmy Doolittle get him away from those Japs. Honest, he will.
And then he was gone. I kept on walking. Then this thought. The boy, this neighbor boy, his meeting and walking with me had not been accidental. He had wanted to walk with me and say what he had said. 1,000 flying fortresses, headed up by Superman, I suppose, with Tarzan of the Apes leading a charge of elephants toward my son's prison camp. Prison camp. I didn't even know if he was in a prison camp. Those devils. What had they done to my son?
Good morning, Mr. Rogers. How are you this morning? I'm your neighbor, Mrs. Gibson.
A woman? Yes, a neighbor. I'd seen her once or twice as I'd walk by. And now she was there walking with me, a grocery bag in her arm, and talking to me.
Must have rained quite hard last night.
Yes, it did.
All the rain this spring has certainly done wonders for our lawns. I've noticed yours. It's very lovely.
Yeah.
Of course, the whole problem is to get someone to do the mowing. I saw you talking to little David Miller. I guess the smaller boys of this neighborhood will come into their own this year. What with the 12 and 14-year-olds all going off to help on the farms during their vacations.
If the grass grows tall, there will be no harm.
No, of course. No. Did you hear about the Griffith boy?
No.
He was out flying a kite, and it fell across those high-tension wires over on Oak Street. And he and some of the other boys got a ladder and put it across the telephone and telegraph post, and they were halfway up when Mr. Griffith came along. The Griffith boy had a metal fishing rod that he was going to use to lift the kite off the wires. Can you imagine that? He'd have been electrocuted if Mr. Griffith hadn't just happened to leave work early that day. If you ever expect them to grow up, you certainly have to watch your children every minute. I mean, I'm sorry. Mr. Rogers, I wonder if I could ask you something.
Yeah?
Well, I know your daughter Elsa has been overseas for a long time, but my daughter Peggy is joining up, and you can understand how excited I've been. I was wondering if you could tell me anything that would...
You were saying?
I was just finding an excuse to talk to you. Peggy's joined up and gone, and I've watched you walk by my house every day. And today I started off to market just at this time, just so that I could have an excuse to tell you that that Mr. Gibson and I would like very much to have you come to dinner some night this week. No, don't say yes or no now. Just think about it. And whenever you'd like to come over, just let us know. Goodbye.
She turned and went. I'd walked along this street morning after morning, hundreds of mornings from the day after the news came that Tom wouldn't be back, and Elsa left the house to join up. Morning after morning, and all was it had been alone. And now this, a boy, a woman, childish prattle, feminine dinner-making. What was this today? Suddenly I heard that tune again, the one the boy had been playing. One of the houses along the street, a Negro woman singing as she swept the front porch.
The house I live in, the friends that I have found, the folks beyond the railroad, and the people all around, the farmer and the worker, the sailor on the sea, the men who built this country, that's America to me. The house I live in, my neighbors white and black, the people who just came here or from generations back, the town hall and the soapbox, the torch of liberty, a home for all God's children. That's America to me. The words of old Abe Lincoln, of Jefferson and Payne, of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and the tasks that still remain. Our little bridge at Concord, where freedom's fight began, our Gettysburg and Midway, and the story of Bataan. The house I live in, the goodness everywhere, a land of wealth and beauty, with enough for all to share. The house that we call freedom, the home of liberty, with a promise for tomorrow. That's America to me.
House I live in. The house I lived in was an empty house.
It's a wonderful song, isn't it, Mr. Rogers?
I turned. Who? And then I saw it was Anne. My Tom's Anne.
I said, that's a wonderful song.
Hello, Anne.
Hello. You going anywhere in particular?
I was just walking.
Mind if I walk with you?
No. Of course not. I'm glad to see you. How have you been?
Fine, Mr. Rogers. fine.
I haven't seen you for quite some time.
Almost a year.
Has it been that long?
Yes, it has.
I had no idea.
Mother and I have wanted very much to see you.
I'm sorry. I've been very busy.
I know. Your war work. Yet surely you could have found some time to come visit us.
I'm sorry.
It's going well.
What's going well?
The war.
Is it?
Did you know it rained last night?
Yes, I know.
As I opened my window and lay on the bed and watched it. It was a strange sort of rain. So soft and fine. It wasn't as if it was rain at all. When it began to get light, every drop seemed to be dancing as it fell.
You didn't sleep?
I was thinking. Mr. Rogers, we've missed you very much. Why didn't you come see us?
I'm sorry, dear. I don't go out these days at all. I go down to the plant. I do everything I can. When I come home, I like to shut the door and be quite alone. I'm sure you understand.
Yet each morning you come out of the house and walk the street.
How do you know that?
I've watched you. We all have. You're very lonely, Mr. Rogers.
Yes, I am.
I was, too.
Was? You heard from Tom?
No, I didn't.
Then the War Department, why should they write you? Why not me? Why didn't
Mr.
they...
Mr. Rogers, please, there's been nothing. No letter.
Then what? Tell me.
I don't know how.
I see. All right, that's natural. Why not? You've been away so long. Why shouldn't you find someone else?
Oh, no, that's not it. Of course not. Why won't you understand?
Understand what? You say you're not lonely anymore, and I'm supposed to understand. Understand what? That you're young, that you can forget. But can I forget my son? Can I forget what he said, how he looked, how he... What have I got left but a lonely house?
I stopped being lonely the day one of the neighborhood women, stopped me on the street. Asked me where she and some of the others could send packages to Tom.
Our Tom?
Yes, ours.
I don't understand. Why should they... What was Tom to them?
Tom mattered to a lot of people on this street. I suddenly began to realize that he mattered on many other streets where they didn't know his name or who he was.
Why, Anne? Why?
Because Tom isn't just ours anymore. What had happened to him mattered to everybody back home who has a sweetheart in this war. Or a husband. Or a son.
The house that I lived in lost its walls, and all the rooms were filled with rubble, and a dust arose. And when I looked again, my empty house was gone. And suddenly a new house arose, and it was filled with people. All the people to whom Tom mattered, even though they'd never seen him, or didn't even know his name. All the people whose hearts were filled with the work and the troubles and the hopes of this war that my son and my daughter, and I, were fighting. So this is the house I live in, a house of people. And there can be no walls, for sorrow knows no walls. And determined knows no walls. And there are no walls for faith.
just heard Raymond Massey in The House I Live In, a new play by Arch Oboler. Included in the cast with Mr. Massey were Ann Shepard, Alfred Ryder, Mercedes McCambridge, and Hester Sundergaard. The song, The House I Live In, was written by Earl Robinson and Lewis Allen and was sung by Miss Hope Foy. The original music was set by Gordon Jenkins, and the orchestra was conducted by Sylvan Levin. Next week, from Hollywood, Mr. Oboler will bring you an original comedy entitled Love, 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 which is subtitled An Excursion into the Gentle Art. This will be the fourth in a special series of plays written, produced, and directed for the Mutual Broadcasting System by Arch Oboler. To conclude the program, Sylvan Levin and the orchestra bring you excerpts from Gordon Jenkins' original tone poem, This Living Book, dedicated to the free men of the free nations who are now meeting in San Francisco to plan a free tomorrow. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
What does it say that back in 1945, even the fourth tier or the third tier network, because Mutual, it was NBC, CBS, NBC, or NBC, CBS, depending upon the day, and then Mutual, and then the Blue Network, which in 1945 was probably the fourth network. It wasn't even ABC yet. But that you could get Raymond Massey, Mercedes McCambridge, who was still a developing talent at the time, and such wonderful music. And you could get that on a network that really didn't have as much clearance. You know, even though they were the third tier they were the third network in radio times. They were still lagging dramatically behind in audience. But it was amazing. That was such a wonderful show. Arch Obolers Plays, The House I Live In, starring Raymond Massey with Mercedes McCambridge, 79 years ago, April 26th, 1945. Tomorrow we will have comedies. By request, an episode of The Magnificent Montague, also Groucho and You Bet Your Life, an episode of the First Nighter program. And, of course, in that program, you had the stock company, Barbara Luddy and Olin Soleil, starring in a domestic comedy called Refresher Course, an episode of the CBS Radio Workshop, Howard McNear, Lou Houston, with John Daner. In a show called Record Collectors, a farce. It really is a farce. I mean, you want to call it a comedy, it really is a farce the way it plays. And, of course, another episode of Claudia. That's coming up on your Saturday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Up next, we go back 81 years. More wartime. April 26, 1943, the Lady Esther Screen Guild Players, and an adaptation of the 1942 classic wartime motion picture, Casablanca. That's next.
Are you suffering with anxiety, depression, PTSD, an eating disorder, or even a substance abuse problem? If it's causing problems at work or with your family, get help now. At Insight Mental Health and Wellness, we help and treat all types of depression and mental issues. We will help you use your insurance to get away from it all, to a beautiful, sunny, and tranquil vacation-like environment, so you can recharge yourself. And with the Family Medical Leave Act, you could take the time off you need from work. Plus, with the Affordable Care Act, your treatment could be 100% covered. If you're suffering from any kind of anxiety, depression, PTSD, eating disorder, or even a substance abuse problem, use your insurance and get away from it all. Come to sunny California. Call Insight Mental Health and Wellness now.
800-281-8944. 800-281-8944. 800-281-8944. That's 800-281-8944.
Alrighty, here on Classic Radio Theater on this Friday, let's go to the movies as we go back 81 years, April 26th, 1943, an episode of the Lady Esther Screen Guild Players, and this adaptation of Casablanca, starring Humphrey Bogart.
Lady Esther presents the Screen Guild Players. The Screen Guild play tonight, Casablanca. The starring players.
This is Humphrey Bogart.
This is Ingrid Bergman.
And this is Paul Henry.
Tonight, Lady Esther presents the Screen Guild Players in Warner Brothers' exciting story of romance and intrigue in wartime Africa, Casablanca, with the original stars of the picture, Paul Henry as Victor Laszlo, Ingrid Bergman as Ilse Lund, and Humphrey Bogart as Rick Blaine. Barely escaping the conquering Germans' entrance into Paris, Rick Blaine fled to Casablanca. There, months before the American troops landed, he was operating Rick's American Cafe. Casablanca swarmed with refugees, and Casablanca's more permanent foreign residents did a land office business in exit visas and letters of transit. Rick, however, avoided involvement in that dangerous business until the night our story began. He was in his office above the cafe, where he could watch and hear the crowd below when his head waiter called to him.
Yes, Carl?
The prefect of police, Captain Renault, would like to speak to you.
I'll send him in.
Yes. Rick will see you, Captain Renault.
Thank you, Carl. Hello, Rick.
Hello, Louis. Why the formality?
Well, I have some unpleasant news for you, Ricky.
I mean, you're looking for more graft.
Oh, no. At least not right now. My men arrested Ugarte on his way to your roulette wheel, Ricky.
Well, except to Ugarte, what's so unpleasant about that?
Well, in itself, nothing. But we arrested Ugarte for murdering 2 German couriers and stealing their letters of transit. Ugarte did not have those letters of transit when he was arrested, and he's seen no one but you, Ricky, since the murder.
What are you building up to, Louis? Arresting me?
No, not immediately at any rate. I just want to give you a word of advice. Ugarte was going to sell those letters tonight to Victor Laszlo.
Laszlo? Here in Casablanca?
Yeah. Well, you know, Ricky, this is the first time I've ever seen you so impressed.
As head of the underground movement, Laszlo's impressed half the world.
Yes, but it's my duty to see that he does not impress the other half. Rick, Laszlo must never reach America. He stays in Casablanca.
20,000 francs says he doesn't.
We'll make it 10,000. After all, I'm only a poor, corrupt official.
All right, it's a bet.
Well, no one else would dare supply Laszlo with exit visas, Ricky, and since he can't leave Casablanca without them, make certain that you don't give him those letters of transit.
But
Oh, you needn't deny it, Rick. I'm certain you have the letters.
Even if I had those letters, Louis, you know I stick my neck out for nobody.
Yes, to date. But I suspect, Ricky, under that cynical shell, you're a sentimentalist. Now, if you'll come downstairs with me, I'll introduce you to Major Strasser and Victor Laszlo and his charming companion, the most beautiful woman who has ever come to Casablanca.
You must remember this. A kiss is still a kiss. A sigh is just a sigh. The fundamental things apply as time goes by.
Sam!
Yes, boss?
I thought I told you never to play that song again.
Well, boss, you see, I didn't really...
Sam's not to blame, Rick. I asked him to play it.
You? Hilda?
Yes, Rick. Ilsa.
What are you doing in Casablanca?
Just traveling through with Victor Laszlo.
Where is he?
He'll be right back. He's looking for someone.
Well, I found your wandering escort, Mademoiselle Lund. Ricky, I have the honor of introducing...
We're old acquaintances, Captain Renault.
Oh, you know each other? Well, then, Ricky, do you also know...
This is Mr. Victor Laszlo.
Well, here's a great deal about Rick in Casablanca.
And about Victor Laszlo everywhere. I congratulate you.
What for?
Oh, your work.
Thank you. I try.
We all try. You succeed.
I can't get over you and Mademoiselle Lund knowing each other, Ricky. Under the circumstances, it worries me.
Well, it needn't.
Let's see, Rick. The last time we met...
Was it La Belle Aurore?
How nice you remembered. But, of course, that was the day the Germans marched into Paris.
I remember every detail. The Germans wore gray. You wore blue.
I don't wish to be the one to say it, dear sir, but it's late. We'll come again, Monsieur Blaine.
Anytime.
Will you say good night to Sam for me, Rick?
I will.
There's still nobody in the world who can play as time goes by like Sam.
I'll tell him. That's what she said, Sam. Nobody can play as time goes by like you.
Aren't you going to stop drinking and go to bed, boys?
No. Play as time goes by, Sam.
Oh, I don't think I can remember it, boys.
If she can stand it, I can. Play it. I got a date with a memory in Paris.
You must remember this. A kiss is still a kiss. A sigh is just a sigh. The fundamental things apply as time.
Now I really know the meaning of happiness, Richard. It's being here in Paris with you.
And the German army 50 miles away. Who are you really, Ilse? What were you before you came to Paris?
At the beginning, we said no questions, Richard.
You know, I can't help wondering why I should be so lucky. Why I should find you waiting for me to come along.
Why there is no other man in my life? Well, that's easy. There was. He's dead.
I'm sorry. I know we said no questions. I'll never ask another.
Richard, you must leave Paris before the Germans arrive. You're on their blacklist.
Their roll of honor.
Oh, don't joke, Richard. You must leave.
Oh, no. We must leave.
Yes.
Oh, now, the train for Marseille leaves at 5. Say, why don't we get married in Marseille?
No. Oh, that's too far ahead to plan.
Ilse, what's the matter?
Nothing, darling. Nothing. It's just that I love you so much. Oh, it's a crazy world. Anything can happen. If you shouldn't get away, if something should keep us apart, wherever you are, wherever I'll be, I want you to know. Richard. Kiss me as if it were the last time.
A kiss is still a kiss. A sigh is just a sigh. The fundamental things apply.
Boss, wake up. Boss, you gotta wake up. That lady's here. And this ain't no memory in Paris. She's right here.
You're as drunk as I am, Sam.
No, he's not, Rick. I'm here. I left Victor at the hotel and came back. I have to talk to you.
Funny about your voice, how it hasn't changed. I can still hear it. Richard, dear, I'll go with you any place. We'll get on a train together and we'll never stop.
No, please. I can understand how you feel.
You understand how I feel. How long was it we had?
I didn't count the days.
Well, I did. Every one of them. Mostly I remember the last one. You and I were going to run away from Paris together.
Oh.
But you didn't meet me at the station, did you?
Please, Rick.
That was a wild finish, me standing on the platform. The last train about to pull out. But you didn't show up, and Sam had to push me on the train.
The Rick I loved in Paris would let me explain, but this Rick, looking at me with hatred. I'll be leaving Casablanca soon. We'll never see each other again.
You'll see me before you go.
No, Rick.
Oh, yes, you will. Some night you'll lie to Laszlo and come to me.
No. No, you see, Victor Laszlo is my husband. And was, even when I knew you in Paris.
Well, Laszlo, I wondered when you'd come to see me.
Captain Reno and Major Strasser kept me busy for the past 24 hours.
Well, there's no use fencing around. You've come about those letters of transit, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
You and Strasser and Reno. Seems to be the general impression in Casablanca that I have those letters.
Suppose we assume that you have them.
All right, go ahead.
You must know it's very important I get out of Casablanca.
Why you? More than any of the others stuck here?
It's my privilege to be one of the leaders of a great movement. You know what I've been doing. You know what it means to the work, to the lives of thousands and thousands of people, that I reach America and...
Don't you ever wonder if what you're fighting for is worth all this?
We might as well question why we breathe. If we stop breathing, we die. If we stop fighting today's enemies, the world will die.
What of it? And it'll be out of its misery.
You know, Monsieur Blaine, you sound like a man trying to convince himself of something he doesn't believe in his heart. That wasn't always your attitude. You ran guns to Ethiopia. You fought against the fascists in Spain.
I was well paid on both occasions.
The winning side would have paid you better. Isn't it strange that you always happen to be fighting on the side of the underdog?
Well, let's say that I'm a poor businessman.
Are you businessmen enough to appreciate an offer of 100,000 francs for those letters?
Oh, I appreciate it. But if you offered me 1,000,000 francs, I wouldn't accept it.
Very well, then. You have the letters of transit. You won't give them to me. But I want Ilsa to be safe. Monsieur Blaine, I ask you as a favor to use the letters to take her away from Casablanca.
You love her that much?
Yes, I love her that much.
Oh, sorry, but it's no deal.
But why?
I suggest that you ask your wife.
My wife?
Yes. Who's singing that song?
Probably Strasser and his Gestapo agents. They followed me here.
Now, don't start anything. I don't want any trouble in here that'll force Reno to close my joint.
You have no objections to your band accompanying me while I sing, do you?
No, go ahead. I'm neutral. If one customer can sing, they can all sing.
They all will sing. Are you ready?
Yeah, we're ready, Mr. Laszlo.
Then play it.
Casablanca, starring Ingrid Bergman, Humphrey Bogart, and Paul Henreid. In just a moment, we will hear Act Two. But first, here's a word from our hostess, Lady Esther.
Don't you just love this time of the year when everything seems to be taking on new life, new beauty? You know your skin is changing too these days. From the winter-weary dryness of February and March to the lovely spring-like freshness of April. And what a pity it is for anyone to hide that fresh, young look of the skin, that lively, awakening April look of the skin, with a mask-like face powder. Does the powder you use accent the fresh, delicate tones April brings to your skin? Or does it hide them, cruelly cover them up, make your skin look a little pasty and drab? Now, if you want to keep that springtime look to your skin, if you want your skin to look fresh as a daisy all day long, and young and lovely as all awakening nature around you, try Lady Esther face powder. I know your heart will miss a beat when you look in your mirror. For Lady Esther face powder brings out all the subtle, delicate charm that nature gives your skin this time of the year. Women say it's by far the most flattering face powder they've ever used. You see, Lady Esther face powder isn't just mixed in the usual way. It's blown by hurricanes. Color and powder particles whirl together with the force and speed of hurricanes. The result is a powder so smooth and fine in texture, it hides little lines and blemishes. So rich and exciting in shade, it adds instant life and beauty to your appearance. So, if you want to see the miracle of springtime take place right on your own skin, before your own mirror, treat yourself to Lady Esther face powder.
And now the curtain rises on the second act of Casablanca, starring Humphrey Bogart as Rick Blaine, Ingrid Bergman as Ilsa Lund, and Paul Henreid as Victor Laszlo. Angered by the manner in which the patrons of Rick's Cafe joined Victor Laszlo in singing the Marseillaise, Major Strasser forced Captain Renault to close Rick's place and ordered Victor Laszlo and Ilsa Lund to remain in their hotel.
Victor, I'm frightened. Please don't go to the underground meeting tonight.
To tell you the truth, my dear, I'm frightened too. So shall I hide here in a hotel room, or shall I carry on the best I can?
Whatever I would say, you would carry on.
Since our friend Rick has refused to part with those letters of transit, what else am I to do?
Did Rick give you any reason?
He suggested I ask you.
Ask me?
Yes. Ilsa, when I was in the concentration camp, were you lonely in Paris?
Yes, Victor, I was.
I know how it is to be lonely. I love you very much, my dear.
Yes. Yes, I know. Victor, whatever I do, will you believe that...
You don't even have to say it. I'll believe. I must get to the underground meeting now. Good night, my dear.
Good night. Hello, Rick.
Well, I told you you'd be around to see me, but this is a little ahead of schedule.
Richard, I had to see you.
Oh, so I'm Richard again. We're back in Paris.
Please.
Your unexpected visit isn't connected by any chance with the letters of transit, is it?
Richard, you can ask any price, but you must give me those letters.
I went all through that with your husband. There's no deal.
Richard, we loved each other once. If those days meant anything at all to you...
I wouldn't bring up Paris if I were you. It's poor salesmanship.
Please listen to me. If you knew what really happened...
I wouldn't believe you no matter what you told me. You'll say anything now to get what you want.
Richard, don't you understand? You are our last hope. If you don't help us, Victor Laszlo will die in Casablanca.
What of it? I'm going to die in Casablanca. It's just a spot for it. Now, if you... Well, I see you come prepared for anything. Give me that gun.
No. I tried to reason with you. I tried everything. Now, if you don't give me those letters, I'll shoot.
Go ahead.
Get me those letters.
No, they're right here in my pocket. I don't have to. If you want them, you'll have to kill me to get them. If the underground means so much, you won't stop at anything. And if you don't shoot fast, I'm going to take that gun away from you. Now give it to me.
Oh, Richard. I tried to stay away. I thought I would never see you again, that you were out of my life. If you knew what I went through the day you left Paris, how much I loved you, how much I still love you. We had been married only 3 weeks when Victor got word that they needed him in Prague. He was captured almost immediately and sent to a concentration camp. Then came word he was dead. I was lonely before, but then I had nothing left, not even hope, until I met you.
But why didn't you tell me all this in Paris?
Victor made me promise to keep our marriage a secret. He was afraid that if the Gestapo found out I was his wife, it would be dangerous for me and for those working with us. I kept my promise.
And then you got word he'd escaped?
Yes, a friend called, telling me that he was ill and hiding in a freight car near Paris. I didn't tell you because you wouldn't have left Paris and they would have caught you. Well, you know the rest.
It's still a story without an ending. What about now?
Well, I'll never have the strength to go away from you again.
And Laszlo?
Well, you'll help him now, won't you, Richard?
Yes.
He'll have his work, all the things he's been living
All
for.
except you.
I can't fight it anymore. I don't know what's right any longer. You'll have to think for both of us, Richard. For all of us.
I've already made up our minds, and I think I can arrange everything with Renault. Here's the setup, Louis. I'm selling out my place and leaving Casablanca on tonight's plane, the last plane.
What?
And I'm taking Ilse Lund with me. Ilse's Victor Laszlo's wife. Louis, I'll make a deal with you.
What is it?
I want to be sure that Laszlo doesn't escape this time. Now, if you could get him on a real criminal charge, would that be a feather in your cap?
It most certainly would. Germany, she would be grateful.
Then be at my place a half hour before the plane leaves. I'll arrange for Laszlo to be there, thinking I'll sell him the letters of transit. When I hand them to him, that'll give you the criminal grounds for making the arrest.
Ricky, I'll miss you. Apparently, the only one in Casablanca that has even less scruples than I.
Thanks. Oh, and by the way, Louis, come for Laszlo alone. Yeah, I'm taking no chances on a double cross, even from you.
Double cross? Why, Ricky?
You might get ideas about slapping me in the jug for selling those letters, you know. Well, don't forget, a half hour before plane time, alone.
Don't worry, Ricky. This is an honor I'll share with no one.
Monsieur Blaine, I don't know how to thank you.
There's no time for that. You won't have any trouble in Lisbon, will you?
No, that's all arranged.
Good. Well, here are the letters.
Monsieur Blaine,
Victor Laszlo, you're under arrest on a charge of accessory to the murder of the couriers from whom those letters were stolen.
Now, just a minute. Nobody's going to be arrested, Louis. Not for a while yet.
What? Rick, put that gun down. Have you lost your mind?
Stay where you are, Louis. I wouldn't like to shoot you. But I will if you take one more step toward me. Keep your hands away from your pistol.
Well, I suppose you know what you're doing, but I wonder if you realize what this means, Rick.
Perfectly. In fact, Captain Renault will take you along as our hostage, so there won't be any trouble at the airport. There's only 10 minutes till the plane leaves. We have to hurry.
I'll go get the luggage aboard. Coming, Ilse?
No, I'll wait here with Rick and the captain.
I'll be right back.
Well, those letters of transit are in blank, Louis. You fill in the names. That'll make it even more official.
Oh, you think of everything, Ricky.
The names to fill in are Mr. and Mrs. Victor Laszlo.
Mr. But why my name, Richard?
Because you're getting on that plane.
But what about you?
I'm staying here to keep Captain Renault company till the plane leaves.
No, Richard. What has happened to you last night?
Last night we said a great many things. Did you mean everything you said?
You know I did.
You said I'd have to do the thinking for all of us. Well, my thinking adds up to you getting on that plane with Victor.
No, but Richard...
I know what you're going to say, that you belong here with me.
Yes.
But if you stayed here, we'd both land in a concentration camp. Isn't that right, Louis?
I'm afraid that Major Strasser would insist.
You're only saying this to make me go.
I'm no good at being noble, Ilse. I'm saying it because it's right.
What about us?
We'll always have Paris. If we didn't have it, we lost it. Until you came to Casablanca. We got it back last night.
When I said that I would never leave you.
Everything is in order. Are you ready, Ilse?
Laszlo, there's something I'd like you to know before you leave.
I know, Monsieur Rick. Ilse has told me all I need to know about you and herself. I don't ask you to explain anything.
And I'm going to anyway. Might make a difference to you later. Last night, Ilse tried everything to get those letters. When nothing else worked, she did her best to pretend that she was still in love with me. That was all over long ago. For your sake, she tried to pretend it wasn't. And I tried to let her pretend. We couldn't even fool ourselves.
Richard.
Monsieur Blaine, welcome back in the fight. This time our side will win. Shall we board the plane, Ilse?
Yes, Victor, I'm ready. God bless you, Richard.
Goodbye.
Well, I suppose you know this isn't going to be pleasant for either of us, Ricky. I have to arrest you, of course.
When the plane leaves, Louis.
Sooner, I'm afraid, Ricky. Here comes Major Strasser.
You better keep quiet, Louis. I'd hate to have to shoot you now.
Why did you ask me to come to the airport, Captain?
Well, I was afraid Victor Laszlo might be leaving on this plane, sir.
Sort of a double cross, eh, Louis?
Of all the ridiculous ideas, Captain.
Possibly. Nevertheless, he's on the plane.
Well, why do you stand there? Why don't you stop him?
Ask Monsieur Rick.
Stay where you are, Strasser.
Herr Blaine, I would advise you not to interfere with an officer of the Third Reich.
I'm a true neutral, Strasser. I was willing to shoot Captain Renault, and I'm willing to shoot you.
But you'll shoot too late.
Oh. Nice shooting, Ricky. But I'm afraid my gendarmes heard those shots. Well, till after this affair dies down, Ricky, I think you'd better disappear from Casablanca. I can arrange your transportation to a fighting French garrison in Brazzaville.
All right, Louis. I could use a trip, but don't forget, you still owe me 10,000 francs for our bet on Laszlo's escape.
Oh, well, we'll need that to get to Brazzaville.
We'll need it?
Certainly. I can be as silly a sentimentalist as you.
You know, Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Thanks to Warner Brothers for Casablanca, and our sincere appreciation to Ingrid Bergman, Paul Henreid, and Humphrey Bogart for appearing with the Lady Esther Screen Guild Players tonight.
It was our pleasure, Mr. Bradley. We know how these programs benefit the Motion Picture Relief Fund, and we know, too, how important the Relief Fund is to our profession. We're happy to give our services. Now, before you hear about the next week's program, please listen to a word from one of our best-known beauty authorities, Lady Esther.
Thank you, Miss Bergman. When you hear a woman say in delight, why, that's sheer flattery, you can be sure she's received a compliment that delights her very soul. Now, it's not only sheer flattery when a person pays you a wonderful compliment, but it's flattery, too, when a new hat makes you look smarter and more intriguing, or when a face powder makes you seem a lot younger, a lot more interesting and attractive. You know, surveys show that women have found Lady Esther face powder to be the utmost in sheer flattery for their skin. Many of them say they prefer Lady Esther face powder because of the delicate smoothness of its texture. Others speak of the warmth and liveliness of the Lady Esther shades. But the smoothness of texture and the beauty of shades are both the result of one thing, the Lady Esther Twin Hurricane method. By this method, the color and powder particles are blown together with the fury and speed of hurricanes into a finer, smoother blend than ever was known before. A powder of such delicate texture, it clings to your skin like soft mist. A powder so truly blended that the shade looks clear, fresh, and alive on your skin. Try Lady Esther face powder, and when you look in your mirror, I know you'll exclaim with delight, why, this is sheer flattery.
Next week, the Lady Esther Screen Guild Players will present that great farce comedy, Nothing But the Truth, starring lovely Lucille Ball and that great protector of the truth, the man who never tells lies, Frank Morgan. Humphrey Bogart will soon be seen in Warner Brothers' production, Action in the North Atlantic. Ingrid Bergman, Humphrey Bogart, and Paul Henreid can currently be seen in the Warner Brothers picture, Casablanca. We wish to thank the 200 members of the Fighting French in our audience tonight who sang the Marseillaise. Music on tonight's program was arranged and conducted by Wilbur Hatch. The Screen Guild Players are presented every Monday night at this time by Lady Esther. To save materials, buy the larger size of Lady Esther face cream. this is Truman Bradley speaking for Lady Esther, saying thank you and good night.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Hard to boil down an hour and 45-minute motion picture into just a little over 22 minutes. I think they did a pretty good job. The Screen Guild Players presentation of Casablanca, 81 years ago today, April 26, 1943, with all three of the primary characters, but Humphrey, Bogart, Ingrid, Bergman making the headline. Alrighty, Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox will continue in just a moment after I remind you to visit our webpage, classicradio.stream. Stream our shows, learn about building a classic radio collection of your own. You can find our social media links, you can contact me there, and you can always buy me a copy or purchase one of the items in the top comment, and those help support our program, and we appreciate that very much. Coming up next, a show that started out as a starring vehicle for Edward G. Robinson and transitioned rather smoothly to even more popularity under Edward Pawley. The program, Big Town.
President Biden recently released a massive $6 trillion budget, the largest budget in U.S. history. And guess who pays the bill? That's right, you, the American taxpayer. American citizens and business owners will be paying more taxes. That's a fact. And if you owe back taxes, they will be coming after you to collect payments. In fact, President Biden also hired thousands more IRS agents to go after you. If you got a letter from the IRS and you know you owe back taxes or you haven't filed in years, don't put your head in the sand. Call us today. We've saved our customers millions of tax dollars. One quick, free phone call will show you how we can reduce your past tax bill and save you thousands. Guaranteed, or you pay nothing. Call now.
800-932-1431. 800-932-1431. That's 800-932-1431. Paid for by the Tax Helpline.
Hopefully in the next few months we'll be able to bring you the premiere episode of Big Town starring Edward G. Robinson. You'll hear it's a different show. Many shows are not the same show that they were at the beginning. They evolve and they grow, just like Jack Benny. If we listen to an early Jack Benny program, you'll find it is nowhere near the same show as aired in May of 1955. Just the characters had all evolved. You had new characters. You had, by 1955, an established staff, and you had an established character for Jack. Totally different. And so being able to see, it's like Fibber, McGee, and Molly. Fibber and Molly were much more acerbic characters in the beginning, and they evolved into the beloved characters that they were in 1956. Okay, I don't know why I bring that up, but I think we need to hear Edward Pawley starring as the crusading editor of Big Town. 75 years ago, April 26, 1949, death stalks the hunter.
Extra Big Town! Tiger slays captor in private zoo! Extra Big Town! Extra!
Look at her, June. My tigress is jealous of you.
Stop tormenting the poor beast, Leo. Stop it! Stop it!
The tigress is jealous of you, June. Jealous of my wife.
No, she's just hungry. You're starving her to make her vicious.
No, she's hungry for freedom. Jealous. Full of hate.
Yes, hear this tense and dramatic Big Town story of a wild beast and its captors, headlined The Hunter, and brought to you by Lever Brothers Company, makers of Life Boy Health Soap. Another exciting adventure of Steve Wilson, fighting editor of the Illustrated Press, whose newspaper creed stands for freedom and justice against the forces of violence and evil.
The power and the freedom of the press is a flaming sword, that it may be a faithful servant of all the people. Use it justly, hold it high, and guard it well.
Now to Big Town and to an estate in its suburbs. An estate surrounded by a high steel fence, the gates of which are locked night and day. For in the center of its heavily wooded grounds stands a group of cages, housing a deadly assortment of wild animals from the four corners of the earth. Such is the scene of Steve Wilson's hair-raising story, headlined The Hunter.
Oh, June, my dear. Look at my beautiful tigress. How she envies you your freedom.
My freedom? I might as well be in that cage as confined to this wheelchair.
Don't be bitter, my dear. It was your own fault that her mother mauled you before I could kill her on that last safari.
Oh, I don't blame you for that accident in India.
Yes, you do, my dear. You didn't want to go. You hate my big game hunting. You resent the money I spend bringing these wild, savage beauties back alive.
Yes, I do. Because you're not like other hunters. You don't give them to museums and public parks. You keep them here to gloat over them. You let no one else see them.
I am the true hunter, June. Leo, the king of the jungle.
They hate you. They all hate you.
No, my dear, they fear me. They're all man-killers. But I am a match for any of them.
Yes, as long as you keep them in cages. Oh, please roll me back to the house, Leo. I hate this place.
Why, my dear? Are you afraid of my pets? Even in their cages?
No. But I'm afraid of you when you're around them.
Just what do you mean by that?
You're different when you're down here with the animals.
How so, June?
You seem to change. You become like them, savage, full of hate.
You're imagining things, June. I sometimes wonder if your unfortunate injury hasn't affected your mind.
Stop it, Leo. Push me back to the house or I'll wheel myself.
You can't, June. Head up the steep path.
Leo, take me back to the house or I'll call for Nanny.
It's no good calling for that old fool nurse.
Why not?
I discharged her this morning.
You got rid of Nanny? But why?
She's much too bossy. Been with you too long. She forgets her place. The fact that she was a servant.
She wasn't a servant. She was my mother's companion. She's been my nurse since I was a child.
Yes, but she's old. She depresses you, my dear. We need a younger woman for a companion in your lonely hours in that wheelchair. I have arranged for an agency to send a young woman tomorrow.
I don't want anyone else. I want Nanny back. This is her home as much as mine for as long as she lives. Do you understand?
Control yourself, June. You're upsetting my pet.
I don't care. Oh, get rid of that tigress, Leo. Get rid of all these poor wild beasts, but get Nanny back here or I'll leave you.
Leave me?
Yes, I'll divorce you.
Divorce me? And who would you name as the other woman? The tigress there? Are you jealous of her?
No. Now listen to me, Leo. I will not share you with a lot of wild beasts. I will not finance any more expeditions into the jungle. I've had all I can stand.
Very well, my dear. In that case, perhaps I'll have to turn my beauties loose. Stage one last safari on the grounds of your precious estate.
Oh, no, you wouldn't.
Wouldn't I? How about it, my friends? Shall I turn you loose? All of you! Shall we hunt each other? Tonight! To the death!
Steve, could you spare a minute?
Oh, judging by your tone of voice, an hour, a day, or a week. What's wrong, Lorelei?
Something that's given me a horrible premonition. Will you come in Mr. Wilson's office, Miss Harding, please?
Thank you, Mrs. Kilburn. How do you do, Mr. Wilson?
How do you do? Please have a seat, Miss Harding.
Thank you.
Miss Harding is, or rather was, the nurse and companion of June Stanton, the wife of Leo Stanton, the sportsman and big game hunter, Steve.
Oh, yes. We've run quite a few stories on his exploits. Wasn't he kicked out of the Explorers Club last year?
Yes, Steve, and he's been barred from several African wild game regions because he slaughtered so many wild animals just for the sake of killing.
And they won't let him go back to India, Mr. Wilson.
Why not?
Because he killed a guide, almost caused an uprising of the natives.
Is that why you've come to us, Miss Harding?
No, Mr. Wilson. I've come to your newspaper for help because I believe that Leo Stanton means to murder my poor mistress, Miss June.
Murder his wife? Well, in that case, this is a police matter, Miss Harding.
I have gone to them, but I have no proof. They don't believe me because I've been discharged. They think I'm only being spiteful, trying to make trouble for Mr. Stanton.
Well, why were you discharged?
Because I've tried to protect my mistress. keep him from frightening her to death with those wild beasts he keeps in cages on the estate.
Have you checked on this, Lorelei?
Yes, Steve. Stanton has a private zoo, half a dozen animals, all dangerous. A gorilla, a black panther, 2 lions, and a young tigress.
Oh, that tigress is the worst. Its mother crippled my mistress before Stanton shot it in India 3 years ago. He kept the cub in the house as a pet until it got too big, too dangerous.
I see. But what makes you think your mistress is going to be murdered?
Because Miss June is beginning to realize what a wild beast she married. She's threatened to divorce him, and I know he'll kill her rather than risk losing her money.
Well, that is a very serious charge, Miss Harding. Are you quite sure?
I have no proof, Mr. Wilson, but I am sure, desperately sure.
I've done some fast checking, Steve. I'm convinced there's something ugly going on. And Miss Harding has given me a way of finding out what it is.
Well, it's certainly worth investigating. How can you do it, Lorelei?
Well, when Leo Stanton fired Miss Harding, he phoned an employment agency to send a younger woman out to the estate to be interviewed for the job of nurse and companion for his wife.
Do you think you could get that job?
I've arranged that for a consideration that will go on the expense account.
Okay, how?
The agency is sending me.
Nice going, Lorelei. Even a few hours in the house might give you enough to call in the police if there is any immediate danger.
There's only one catch, Steve. Leo Stanton doesn't want the new nurse and companion until tomorrow. That means June Stanton will be alone in that private zoo tonight.
And poor Miss Joan oughtn't to be left alone with him for a minute. She's helpless in that wheelchair.
Do you think you could get the job today, Lorelei?
I can try. I can go out there, say I didn't understand the appointment was for tomorrow.
Yes, that might work, unless she has a special reason for not wanting anyone with his wife tonight.
And that reason could be murder. And the quicker we find out, the better.
All right, Lorelei, go ahead and see if you can get in, get the job.
I'll phone you if I do.
No, Lorelei, if there is anything to Miss Harding's fears, it might arouse Stanton's suspicions if you phone me.
Oh, there is, Mr. Wilson. I know there is. He may try to murder Miss June tonight.
Have you any idea how he might try to do it, Miss Harding?
I don't know for sure, Mr. Wilson, but I'm afraid he might even turn the animals loose.
Well, in that case, Lorelei...
Steve, don't say I can't go. We can't leave that poor crippled girl alone in that place.
No, we can't. You'd better get going, Lorelei, but be prepared for your boyfriend to call on you about 10 o'clock tonight.
My boyfriend?
Yes, yours truly, Steve Wilson, accompanied by his monkey wrench friend, Harry the Hack.
Lifebuoy gets skin cleaner.
Lifebuoy gets skin cleaner.
And the cleaner you get your skin, the surer you are of being fresh and attractive. So remember, Lifebuoy, with its purifying ingredient, gets skin cleaner, stops BO as no other leading soap can. Here's what the doctors proved in 820 scientific tests.
People took daily baths with different soaps. Doctors found that Lifebuoy does more than just remove the grime and perspiration you can see. Lifebuoy's purifying ingredient makes it more effective than any other leading soap against the invisible dirt that brings on BO.
Lifebuoy's milder, too. Safe even for baby's tender skin.
And you'll like the way Lifebuoy, made with costly coconut oil, bursts into quick white lather, even in hard water.
Lifebuoy gets skin cleaner.
Lifebuoy gets skin cleaner, keeps you fresh and attractive, protects you as no other leading soap can. Bathe with Lifebuoy Health Soap every day. Get the big new bath size. Buy Lifebuoy right away. Now back to Big Town and to Steve Wilson and Lorelei Kilburn in tonight's headline story of The Hunter. Checking on the strange story of an old and devoted family servant, Lorelei has gone to a suburban estate and applied for a job as nurse and companion of a crippled girl who may be marked for murder by her husband, who is now questioning Lorelei in the library.
Very well, Miss Kilburn. Since the employment agency made a mistake, sent you out here tonight instead of tomorrow, you may as well stay.
Oh, well, does that mean I get the job? I'm hired?
Yes, you seem qualified. My poor wife, June, doesn't really need a trained nurse. More a companion during the times I must be away.
Are you away much, Mr. Stanton?
Yes, for months at a time. I hunt big game.
Oh, yes, I read about your wonderful adventures.
Incidentally, are you afraid of wild animals, Miss Kilburn?
Not as long as they're in cages. Behind bars.
Yes, a sensible attitude. There are several here on the estate in my private zoo. Sort of jungle back of the house. Hey, do you hear them?
yes. Well, what's that one?
That is my favorite. A beautiful young tigress. I used to keep her here in the house, but she became jealous of my poor wife. And being almost full grown. Dangerous.
I can imagine.
She also mauled one of the servants rather badly. Oh, yes, incidentally, that's another matter. There are no servants at the moment.
Oh?
Yes. The cook left when I was forced to discharge my wife's companion.
Why did you discharge Mrs. Stanton's old nurse?
For good cause. Now, if you will go to your room, I will explain your duties and introduce you to my poor wife in the morning.
In the morning?
Yes.
But I don't mind starting now, tonight.
That will not be necessary. I look after my wife in the evenings. I'm about to take her for a little trip in the moonlight before she retires. Now, you may go to your room.
Very well, sir. But Mr. Stanton.
Yes, what is it?
Well, I hate to ask this my first day, but I wasn't sure I'd get the job.
Yes?
And a friend said he'd drive out about 10 o'clock and pick me up in case I didn't.
You may telephone him you're staying.
Well, I'm afraid I can't reach him. I'm sorry.
Well, in that case, meet him at the main gate.
But I understand you keep the gates locked, Mr. Stanton.
Yes, and the entire estate is surrounded by a high steel fence as an added safeguard against any of the animals getting out of their cages.
Well, could I go out and meet him for a few minutes?
Yes, very well. Here's a key to the main gate. But you must lock it when you leave, and again when you return. And I hope you will not make a habit of having your boyfriends call on you.
Oh, I won't, Mr. Stanton. I promise. Just this one.
Well, see that you don't, or I shall be obliged to get someone else.
Yes, sir. Now, what's the matter with the animals, Mr. Stanton?
They're just restless. They're always like that on moonlight nights. The moon seems to arouse their primitive instincts. It is a night for the hunters, man and beast. A night for stalking, for the kill.
Thank heaven. Here's the main gate. Those creatures give me the meanies. Ditto, Mr. Leo the Lion Stanton. Oh, that must be his pussycat girlfriend. Oh, poor June Stanton. He's taken her down there to those cages. Oh, come on, Steve. Doggone it. Something's liable to happen here tonight, and it's liable not to be pretty. Golly, it's after 10. I hope that's Steve and Harry.
Hi, Miss Kilbane.
Oh, Harry, thank heavens.
Well, how did you make out, Lorelei?
Well, I got the job, Steve, but I haven't met Mrs. Stanton, and I don't like the way her husband is acting.
How so?
Well, I'm not sure, but he's got something on his mind. He's nervous, jumpy.
Where is June Stanton?
He's taken her out in her wheelchair down toward the animal cages, and she didn't like it one little bit. I heard her arguing with him as he wheeled her down the path.
Did you have any trouble getting out here to meet us?
Well, he didn't like it. Said I wasn't to do it again, but he gave me a key to open the gate and strict orders to lock it again.
Holy moly, Miss Kilburn, what has this guy got in there?
A gorilla, a black leopard, and a couple of lions and a pet tigress, Harry.
They running around loose?
I certainly hope not, Harry. They're supposed to be in cages down there in a gully this side of the main house.
Well, they sound restless tonight.
Stanton says they get like that on moonlight nights, and that's something else that worries me, Steve.
Oh? What is that, Lorelei?
Stanton's like a cat on a hot stove, and his eyes have a kind of funny look when those beasts started yowling at the moon. Sort of wild. And he said something about this being a night for hunters, for stalking, for the kill.
The kill?
Uh-huh. Ooh, yeah. Jeepers, he gives me the creeps. But there was nothing I could do about seeing June Stanton talking to her without making a scene.
Yes, he would have fired you.
What are we going to do, Steve? We have absolutely no proof of anything wrong. Just Nanny Harding's hunch he means to kill his wife.
Lorelei, are there any dogs here on the estate?
Well, I don't think so, Steve. I haven't seen or heard any.
Good.
Why good?
I'm going back in there with you, scout the grounds, and keep an eye on Stanton for a couple of hours.
How about me, boss? My trusty noggin knocker might come in handy if you met up with one of them here now yowling pussycats.
Thanks, Harry, but I'd rather have you here by the gate, ready to go for the police in case there is anything to Miss Harding's premonition of murder.
Oh, Steve, That must be June Stanton.
Good grief, jump in your cack, Harry. Go get the police.
And how on a double-double?
Oh, those screams came from near the animal cages, Steve.
Come on, Lorelei. Open that gate. Miss Harding's premonition may be right, and tonight may be the night.
Steve, the animal cages are just ahead, in a little clearing in these woods.
Yes, I see one of the cages. I wonder why the animals are so quiet all of a sudden.
I hope they're not out of their cages, prowling around in the underbrush. I hope.
Wait, Lorelei, listen. I don't hear Stanton or his wife.
I haven't heard a thing since those awful screams. Maybe we're too late. Maybe she's been killed.
Uh-oh. I think that's an ape. The gorilla.
Oh, yeah. And it sounds like he's still in his cage.
Yes, praise be for that much consolation.
But it still leaves 2 lions, a black leopard, and a tigress to be accounted for.
I think you better go back, Lorelei. Get outside the main gate and wait.
Oh, no, Steve Wilson. You may not be Tarzan, king of the jungle, but you're human. And I crave company in this dark woods.
All right. Let's move up to the edge of the clearing and see if all the animals are in their cages. Then we'll know what we're up against.
The ape hears us coming.
There's no help for it. There are the rest of the cages, but I can't see that...
The lions are still in their cage.
Yes. And that black leopard in the end cage. Wait, Lorelei.
What is it, Dave?
Look right over there on the left, in front of that first cage next to the stone house.
Oh, Steve. June Stanton, sitting in her wheelchair alone.
She hasn't moved. Just seems to be sitting there.
She may be dead.
I don't think so. She'd be slumped over. She's sitting up straight in the wheelchair.
Yeah. Frozen. Facing that patch of woods beyond the stone house.
Her hand moves. She's alive. Watching something.
Oh, Steve. The tigress. She's out of her cage in that underbrush.
Good grief. Yes. And moving this way.
Oh, we can't stay here.
No, come on. Move slowly, Lorelei. Out into the clearing toward Mrs. Stanton.
June Stanton's seen us. She's motioning to us to stay away.
You can't leave her there. She's cornered between the cages and that building.
What can we do?
There's one chance, Lorelei, if that cat will just wait a minute.
Steve, I think it's behind us now.
But still in the underbrush circling. Don't turn around, Lorelei. Don't look back. Mrs. Stanton? Mrs. Stanton?
Get away from here. Get away from him, please. The tigress is out of her cage.
Yes, we know. Are you hurt?
No, but we're all liable to be killed if my husband doesn't get back this rifle in time. Who are you?
That doesn't matter now, Lorelei.
Yes, Steve.
Turn slowly. Reach out with your hand. Don't make any quick movements.
What do you want me to do?
There's a cage door right behind you, partly open.
Yes, it's her cage. My husband opened it to feed her. She got out.
Yes, we think he let her out, Mrs. Stanton. That's why we're here. Now move slowly, Lorelei. Open that cage door wider, then step inside, and I'll push Mrs. Stanton's wheelchair into the cage.
Oh, golly, it would squeak.
She's coming closer. She'll spring if you try to wheel me in the cage. Leave me here.
No, steady. We can make it.
It's open wide enough for the wheelchair, Steve.
Good girl, Lorelei. Get inside the cage. We'll be safe until the police arrive if we can get in and get the cage door closed.
I see her behind you. Crouched in the brush, ready to spring. Oh, don't try to push me. Save yourself.
No, hold on to your chair, Mrs. Stanton. I'm going to give you a quick shot.
Steve, look out!
Did she slash you?
No, just ripped my sleeve open with one of her claws. Sorry, old girl, you missed your supper, and we're staying right here in your cage until the police come and take care of you and your master.
How did you know my husband let her out? Who are you?
I'm Lorelei Kilburn, a reporter. And this is Steve Wilson, my editor.
How did you happen to come here? How did you get inside the estate?
Your nurse, Miss Harding, came to us. She was convinced your husband fired her because he meant to murder you.
My poor Nanny, she warned me, but I wouldn't listen. I couldn't believe he meant to do it until tonight.
Just what happened here? We heard you screaming.
He wheeled me down here. He said he was going to feed the tigress, but he opened the cage door and left me where you found me.
Oh, where is your husband? Where'd he go?
He went up to the house. He said he was going to get his high-powered rifle.
Well, what happened when he left? When you screamed?
Well, she didn't come out of the cage at first. I tried to close the gate again, but she sprang through, and I thought she was going to turn and pounce on me. But she didn't.
It's a miracle she didn't.
Well, it might be because I used to get Nanny to wheel me down here. When I knew my husband was starving her to make her vicious, I'd feed her. She's hungry now. He hasn't fed her for days. I think she was closing in to spring on me when you arrived. I owe you my life, Mr. Wilson, Miss Kilburn.
Not yet, Mrs. Stanton. The police are coming, but we're not out of this. This cage is a deadly trap. If your husband comes back, discovers that we know he tried to have that tigress murder you.
Speak of the she-devil.
June!
Oh.
June, my dear.
Speak of both devils. He's back.
Don't answer him, Mrs. Stanton.
Oh, but he'll think the tigress killed me.
Let him think so. We've got to stall for time.
There he is, Steve. Standing on the steep path down from the house.
Yes, with a high-powered rifle. He could so easily shoot us and claim he was firing at the tigress.
Steve, the tigress is moving away from us into the brush. Towards Stanton.
Good heavens, she's stalking him.
Poetic justice.
Yes, but we can't let it happen, Lorelei. We've got to warn him.
And get a bullet for thanks?
How do you feel about it, Mrs. Stanton?
Yes, please call to him. Warn him. Even if he tried to murder me, he's sick. He must be insane.
All right, keep back of me. Both of you. Staunton! Staunton!
Who are you? Who's that?
Never mind. Your murderous pet tigress is stalking you. Come this way. Bring that rifle. Get in this cage.
Lifebuoy gets skin cleaner.
Lifebuoy gets skin cleaner.
Lifebuoy, with its purifying ingredient, gets skin cleaner, stops BO as no other leading soap can. Doctors have proved it.
People took daily baths with different soaps. Doctors compared results. They found that Lifebuoy, with its quick, rich, purifying lather, cleanses and protects better than any other leading soap. And Lifebuoy is milder, too.
So bathe with mild, refreshing Lifebuoy every day. Remember, Lifebuoy gets skin cleaner, stops BO as no other leading soap can. Buy Lifebuoy right away. Now, back to Big Town and to Steve Wilson, Lorelei, and June Stanton as they face a deadly showdown with her husband in his private zoo in tonight's headline story of The Hunter.
Listen, Staunton. Get in this cage with us or you'll be torn to pieces by that tigress you let out to kill your wife.
Who are you? How did you get in here?
It won't matter if that tigress springs on you.
Where is my wife?
In this empty cage. Get in here while you have a chance.
Leo, get in here with us before it's too late.
So you did get away, June, my dear. My pet didn't get you.
Steve, you must be mad. He isn't watching that beast.
Wait, Lorelei. Get in here, Staunton. That animal is behind you, moving in. Ready to spring. Dash for it when I open this cage door.
Save your concern. I'll deal with my pet when I've settled with you. You meddler. You trespasser.
Don't be a fool, Staunton. Get in this cage while you have a chance.
I make my own chances. Who are you? Who was that other woman with you?
Miss Kilburn, one of my reporters, the girl you hired to take the place of Miss Harding. We know all about your plans to kill your wife, and that rifle won't cover it up.
Why not?
The police have been notified. Get in here and take your chances with them before the tigress claws you to death.
Let her try. I'm her master. She failed me once, but she'll obey me now.
Get in here, Staunton. She is the hunter now, not you.
We'll see about that. Come, my beautiful pet. Get back in your cage with those fools. Get back in your chair, you devil!
Oh, Steve.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Stanton's one shot killed the tigress, but the dying animal killed him with one blow of its powerful paw, and thus saved the law the grim necessity of putting him away for the rest of his strange, unnatural life.
And kept us from being served as a main course for the hungry tigers. But how about next week, Steve?
Well, next Tuesday, we have another story from the front pages of the Illustrated Press and headlined, The Fatal Alibi. Now, Lorelei Kilburn has news of another kind, a special offer for every woman listening.
Yes, it's really big news for women about our sensational new self-drain aluminum saucepan. You can get it at half price when you buy 2 cakes of Lifebuoy.
It's an amazing value, friends. Genuine Regal heavy aluminum 2-quart capacity. I repeat, an amazing value.
You bet it is, Dwight. And that self-drain feature is a big improvement in America's favorite saucepan. Now you can drain hot water from food without removing the cover. There's no danger of scalding hands, and it prevents food from spilling into the sink. A slight twist turns the cover to cook and to drain. It's a marvel.
Yes, friends, this dazzling Regal heavy aluminum self-drain saucepan is a marvel. An amazing $2 value that's yours for only $1 when you buy 2 cakes of Lifebuoy Health Soap. Here's all you do. Send 2 Lifebuoy box fronts with $1 to Lever Homemakers Club, Box 27, New York 8, New York. That's Box 27, New York 8, New York. Do it today. This offer is limited to the United States, Alaska, and Hawaii. In tonight's dramatization, all names, times, and places are fictional. Big Town features Edward Pawley as Steve Wilson, Fran Carlin as Lorelei Kilburn, and was written and produced by Jerry McGill.
Lever Brothers Company has amazing news. New 1950 Rinso with sodium. It's here a year ahead of time. New 1950 Rinso has 3 times the whiter washing action of any other soap. The sensational new washing action of 1950 Rinso gets white clothes whiter than new, washable colors brighter than new, and keeps them whiter, brighter than any other soap. Rinso is so safe for clothes, so kind to hands. Get new 1950 Rinso at your dealers now.
Be sure and be with us again next Tuesday at the same time when Lever Brothers Company will again present Big Town. This is your narrator, Dwight Wiest, bidding you good night.
From 75 years ago, April 26, 1949, Big Town, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Another reminder, we've got comedy coming up all weekend here. Tomorrow we'll have The Magnificent Montague starring Monty Woolley by request. Groucho in You Bet Your Life. We'll also have an episode of the First Nighter program, the CBS Radio Workshop, and Claudia. And then on Sunday, Marie Wilson as My Friend Irma, and Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. Both those shows from 1953, so we'll have news from April 28, 1953. And then we will also have an episode of Abbott and Costello. We'll have an episode of The Halls of Ivy, and another episode in the continuing adventure of the nitrate shipment on Superman. But right now, an episode of Jeff Regan Investigator. That's coming up next.
They say neither snow, nor rain, nor heat, nor gloom of night
Neither snow, nor rain, nor heat, nor gloom of night will hold up your mail. But you can if you don't use zip codes. Be sure to use zip code on every letter and package you send, and always include your own zip code in your return address. That way, others will have it when they write to you. Remember, mail moves the country, and zip code moves the mail.
Oh, trash cans, dogs. At least a zip code.
Even in 1968, they were still using theater of the mind techniques to promote zip code. All right, let's go back 74 years to April 26, 1950, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox with an episode of Jeff Regan Investigator. At this time, the reins had been turned over to Frank Graham, who was portraying the character originally portrayed by Jack Webb. But in this episode, Paul Dubov sitting in for Frank Graham. Of course, you still have Frank Nelson as Jeffrey Lyons. This episode, 74 years ago, April 26, 1950, and it all comes back.
My name's Regan. I work for Anthony J. Lyon Detective Bureau. They call me the Lion's Eye.
Wednesday at 9, and CBS brings you Jeff Regan Investigator, starring Paul Dubov as Regan with Frank Nelson as Anthony J. Lyon. So stand by for mystery and suspense and adventure in tonight's story titled It All Comes Back to Me Now.
She was about medium size, brunette, beautiful, and bewildered. She couldn't remember where she'd come from or where she was going. Couldn't remember her own name. Just one thing she could remember. She wanted to commit murder. She was in the office of my boss, Anthony J. Lyon, that Friday morning, sitting there across the desk from him, holding onto her battered purse like it was the last thing in the world she was sure of. What the Lion or I didn't know, she was right.
Oh, Jeffrey, come in. I've been waiting for you.
Morning, Fatso. New client?
Yes, Jeffrey. I think we could call her that. Jeffrey, this is Miss...
That's a very interesting name, Fatso. My name's Regan, Miss.
Well, how do you do, Mr. Regan?
Jeffrey, she has a terrible problem.
Somebody does.
She can't remember her name.
Please, can't you help me? I don't remember anything.
You remember how you got here to our office?
No, not anything.
From when?
Well, from now. Except, there was a door. It said detective agency. I walked in.
Yes. Jeffrey, what are we going to do about Miss Smith?
Smith?
Well, we've got to call her something, haven't we?
All right, Smith.
Jeffrey, this is a matter for the police, a Bureau of Missing Persons. Surely if
no, Mr. Lyon, please. Not the police.
What's that?
Oh, please, Mr. Regan, please don't let him call the police.
People who can't remember their names usually can't remember they shouldn't go to the police, Miss Smith.
But
Look, lady, if you don't want to go to the cops, there's got to be a reason.
Well, then, look at this.
Jeffrey.
.32 caliber revolver, Smith and Wesson. Loaded except for 2 empty shells.
You see, Mr. Regan.
The gun's been fired, Jeffrey?
2 bullets missing. Miss Smith?
I don't know.
Jeffrey, that settles it. We call
Lyon,
the
I
police.
think Miss Smith hasn't quite finished her story. The gun in her purse isn't the only reason she doesn't want to go to the police. That right, Miss Smith?
Mr. Regan, I try to remember. There was a house somewhere. A small house. I was in a room with...
Go on.
No, I can't.
Keep trying, Miss Smith.
I was going somewhere. Alone. I wanted to see I think I was on my way to kill someone.
Fatso, get some water. She's fainted.
Here, water. Jeffrey, don't just stand there. Call an ambulance.
The Lion was right. Miss Smith wasn't just a quick faint. Her breath came in short, hushed spurts, and her pulse was a whisper. Beside her, the battered little purse had fallen open. Inside, $2.17 and a receipt for cab fare. No wallet, no identification. I picked up the receipt. It was dated that morning, Friday, and totaled $3.70. It was a lead. I sent the Lion with Miss Smith in the ambulance and then headed for the main office of the cab company. It took me 2 hours to get what I wanted. The receipt was for cab number 702, one of the new cars the company added, and it was usually driven by one Joseph Rupnick. Another hour passed, and he pulled into the cab stand out front of the main office. Joe Rupnick?
Who else?
Let's drive.
My flag is down. Where to, Mac?
Did you drive a medium-sized brunette this morning, Joe?
Oh, it'd be a pleasure.
Think. Fair complexion, good-looking, very good-looking. Carried a little black leather purse. The fare was $3.70.
$3.70, huh? You know, it's a nice fare.
What'll it buy, $3.70?
Well, let's see. $3.70 should ought to take you out to Westwood.
You got a record of your stops today. What about Westwood?
Yeah, I guess I have. Hey, Mac, what do you know? She was lovely, she was engaged, and she used my cab. Oh, what a dish. Bewitched, bothered, and brunette. I seen her, and I'm glad.
Never mind the tone poems. Where did you pick her up?
In Westwood. Where else?
Okay, let's go there.
This is it, Mac. Right here on this corner. She was standing here. Naturally, I stopped.
Naturally. Thanks. See you around.
No, you're welcome, but I'm staying.
Staying where?
Now, look, right here, Mac. Look. You don't have to be a mind reader to spot you for a private eye, shamus, or gumshoe. This means the jackpot. My cab is at your service.
That's your business, Joe. Only keep your flag up.
Shouldn't worry about a thing. Besides, when else do I get a chance to check the horses at Tanforan?
Joe Rupnick pulled a racing form out of his pocket, and I looked at the place he'd pointed out. According to Joe, Miss Smith had been standing in front of a white one-story building with a two-story sign that said Parker's Service. It was an auto repair shop, a big one, the kind that specializes in foreign cars, custom sedans, and rich customers.
Mr. Parker. Telephone call, Mr. Parker. Yes, sir? What can I do for you, sir?
I am looking for a girl. She used to work here.
Sarah? You're looking for Sarah?
About medium-sized, good-looking?
Yeah, that's Sarah. Well, she quit yesterday. She was in here this morning to pick up her check. Me, I'm just taking her place. And it's not a bad job. Not bad at all. Mr. Parker, he's a nice guy. A very nice...
Could you give me...
pardon me just a moment, please. Parker's Service? Yeah, just a moment, please.
Could you give me Sarah's address?
Huh?
Could you give me Sarah's address?
Well, I could check for you. You see, I'm new here and
Sure. By the way, what's Sarah's last name? I've forgotten.
Sarah Hanson. So you didn't know her very well, did you?
Blind date.
Oh, yeah. I understand. And she forgot to give you her address. Sure, I'll find out for you, mister. Glad to.
The girl behind the counter winked at me and went back into the office, and before I could turn around, there was somebody at my elbow. And I had that feeling you get when you know someone's staring down your neck. I turned, and I was right. Tall man, neatly dressed, business suit, about 35. Suntan that spelled 18 holes of golf on Sunday, private club, Chamber of Commerce.
I beg your pardon, sir. Did I overhear you asking for Sarah Hanson?
Maybe you did.
My name's Parker.
Mine's Regan.
I wonder if you'd be kind enough to step into my office.
Okay.
This way, Mr. Regan. You see, I happen to be particularly interested in a girl, Miss Hanson. She's unusually intelligent, a superior worker. I hated to see her leave. Here we are, Mr. Regan. Have a chair. A cigarette?
No, thanks. Let's stick to Miss Hanson.
Oh, yes, Mr. Regan. I was quite curious at your interest in Sarah Hanson. She's not the sort of girl to have many, shall we say, gentlemen friends.
Really? What sort of girl is she?
Well, more on the quiet side. Intelligent, as I've said, and not at all emotional. Sarah was a very
superior worker. Come on, Parker. I haven't got all day. A girl quit her job and you want to know why. Is that it?
Well, I'm curious.
There's more to it than that. I saw 4 secretaries in your front office alone. One named Sarah wasn't that good.
Very well, Mr. Regan. I'm going to tell you the truth. Certain malcontents, certain vicious elements in my organization, irresponsible rumor mongers have been saying that Miss Benson and I... Well, there isn't a word of truth in it.
I'm still listening.
I'm a happily married man, Mr. Regan. You understand what rumors of this sort do to a man.
Go on.
I'm going to put a stop to it. You understand? Once and for all, I'm going...
Okay. Take it easy, Parker.
I'm sorry I lost my temper, Mr. Regan. This thing has been gnawing at me for months. That's why I finally discharged Miss Hanson.
That's what you've been trying to say. You fired Sarah Hanson. You think that's why I'm here?
Well, yes,
It's just a job, Mr. Parker. We all got to make a living. Somewhere in it, a story was beginning to take shape. Parker apologized again, and I left his private office. Out front, the receptionist had Sarah Hanson's address, and I took it. When I got to the street, Joe Rupnick's cab was still sitting there.
Hop in, Mac. I'm available. You find the gun?
No, but I've got an address.
Great. I got them all lined up for tomorrow at Tanforan. Let's go.
It was past Pico on Bentley. Took us 5 minutes to pull up in front of a bungalow converted into a duplex. I left Joe with his racing form and newspaper and went up to the door that belonged to Sarah Hanson. I rang the doorbell. No answer. I knocked. Same results. The sun was sinking somewhere in the distance, and the early mist, the prelude to fog, was settling in fast. I tried the doorknob. No results. And then something told me to get inside that apartment, to get in with or without a permit, with or without a key. I walked around back until I found a window unlocked. The screen was easy, and I climbed up. My stomach scraped across the windowsill, and I was inside. Dark, dank, stale-smelling air. Something foul and disagreeable. I wanted to turn and leave and get out of the stinking apartment, but I didn't. Instead, I moved slowly along the wall in the darkness and fumbled until I hit the light switch. The lights didn't change the smell, but it told a story. Chairs upside down. Picture frame smashed to the floor. 2 dishes broken in 1,000 pieces. And the sofa cushions on top of each other in a corner. The whole place turned upside down, looking like a clapboard shack after a hurricane. I moved into the living room, picking up pieces, searching for anything. And I found something. In front of the imitation fireplace on the carpet, a pool of blood.
Hey, Mac, you okay?
Yeah, Joe.
Look, Mac, I think I got something important.
Be there in a minute.
Never mind. I'll climb through the window. Hey, look, Mac, I want you to take a look at this. I was reading while I was waiting for you.
Early edition of the afternoon paper.
Yeah. Look on page 2. Did you find it, Mac?
Yeah, I found it. Story on page 2. The body of a girl found washed up on Will Rogers State Beach, tentatively identified as Sarah Hanson.
This is CBS, and you are listening to tonight's adventure with Jeff Regan, Investigator, entitled It All Comes Back to Me Now. CBS brings you many of the most exciting programs on the air. For example, Sundays at 5:30. A face in the shadows, a blood-stained burnoose, a beautiful dancing girl may set Rocky Jordan on an exciting adventure in ancient Cairo. Follow Rocky Jordan as he moves through the dangerous streets of the capital of Egypt. Meet Rocky Jordan this Sunday at 5:30 on CBS. And now, back to tonight's story titled It All Comes Back to Me Now, and Jeff Regan, Investigator.
Joe, the cab driver, stepped on the gas, and we headed for the police. I sat in the back seat, the folded newspaper in my lap, and tried to make sense out of a story so twisted even the principal characters no longer made sense. A girl with amnesia hires the Lion and me to help her find herself. She says she remembered wanting to kill someone. She collapses, and I follow a lead to a cab driver, to a repair shop in Westwood, to the home of one Sarah Benson. That was when I read the early afternoon paper which said a girl had been found washed up on Will Rogers State Beach. Her name? Sarah Hansen. It was getting late. Streetlights turned on, traffic jamming and honking its way up Sunset. But that didn't stop Joe Rupnick from hitting 40 between the cars. We made the police station at 6:45. Okay, thanks, Joe. That does it.
What do you think, I'm leaving? Me, a sucker for a mystery? I gotta know how this comes out.
It took me 15 minutes to get to Lieutenant Candid.
Hi, Regan.
Candid, I got a couple of questions.
Regan, I am tired to the very bottom of my large, flat feet. Let's make it tomorrow.
It can't wait.
All right, Regan. What's her name?
Listen, Candid, all I want to know is where you got your identification for Sarah Hansen.
Sarah Hansen, age 27, height 5'4", weight about 117, hair blonde, eyes brown.
Blonde.
That's what I said, wasn't it?
You fished her up off Santa Monica?
Will Rogers State Beach. We didn't find her. Some swimmers did. They called.
You weren't looking for her?
Looking. We didn't know Sarah Hansen from my friend Irma. What's eating you, Regan?
Candid, just tell me something else. Who identified the girl for you?
Only her mother and father and brother and sister, that's all.
Okay, Candid. Sorry I bothered you.
It's all right. We can't find the murder weapon. We haven't got a lead on the killer, and I got to talk to you yet.
She was shot?
2 slugs in her chest. 32s. Maybe Smith and Wesson. Gun's missing.
That part of it wasn't in the papers.
Don't we look bad enough already without making it worse? All we got on this case is a body. Even if it is a nice one.
When was she killed, Candid?
This morning, somewhere between 1 and 2 a.m., the coroner says. That isn't all.
What else?
Well, from the tire marks they found up the beach, there was another idea. We think maybe she was shot somewhere else and then driven down to the beach.
This Sarah Hansen, she worked?
Yeah, a place out in Westwood. Called, Parker's Service. We'll check everyone out there. Takes time.
What about an address, Candid? Where did she live?
Well, the parents say she moved out of their place a couple of months ago. Seems they had a fight, she and the parents. She wouldn't tell them where she was moving.
They tell you anything else?
Sarah Hansen was afraid of something, they said. Had them worried. That's when the fight started. She used to get phone calls from a woman.
A woman?
Yeah, every time this woman called, Sarah would leave the phone crying. Only happened a couple of times.
Did they ever see this woman?
Nope. They were wondering if it might be another girl who worked with Sarah. Feud.
Only you haven't checked the employees yet.
Like I said, Regan, it takes time. The shop opens up first thing in the morning. My men will be there.
Thanks, Candid. Thanks a lot.
Hey, Regan, where do you fit in this?
Client, Candid. You know how it is.
Maybe I don't, Regan. If you know something...
I don't know anything, Candid.
You wouldn't lie to me, would you? Sarah Hansen was a good-looking dame. A real good-looking dame.
I never met her.
You sure, Regan?
I'm sure.
Okay, I'll take your word. She's a real nice-looking dame, like I said. Kind you hate to see turn up. dead. You want to see her, Regan?
All right, Candid. We'll see her. Candid and I went to the morgue. We saw her. Sarah Hanson. Medium-sized, good-looking blonde. She looked nothing like the girl who'd come to the Lyons office without a memory. Yet somewhere Sarah Hanson and Miss Smith fit together. Somewhere their lives became crossed and tangled up and then went separately again. Miss Smith's to a blank memory. Sarah Hanson's to death. Somewhere something made both things happen. That gave me an idea. I went upstairs to Missing Persons and checked every record I could find that even faintly resembled our client, Miss Smith. Nothing did. I headed outside. Joe Rupnick was still sitting in the taxi. He turned it around, and we headed for the L.A. County Hospital.
Jeffrey, there you are.
Trouble, Fatso?
Trouble? I've been sitting here all day, wasting time and money.
How's she doing, Fatso?
Is she? Oh, Miss Smith, fine. She's doing fine. Doctor says she was merely weak from too much tension brought on by the amnesia.
Good, Lion. I think we may have something.
We may have something. You're darn right we have something. Hospital bills, doctors, nurses' bills. Every time the door opens to that girl's room, I add another $5. Jeffrey, this is ridiculous. We're not Fort Knox. How do you think the Lion Detective Agency can pay for these bills?
Take it easy, Fatso. Remember, it was your idea to bring Miss Smith here.
So what if it was my idea?
That's right, Lion. You call the ambulance.
Well, that's no reason why we have to pay.
Mr. Lion, I'll have to ask you not to raise your voice.
Yes, Miss Wilson. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Lion.
Yes.
Sitting here all day, wasting your time.
Oh, now, Jeffrey, after all, a man has to do something.
Sure, Fatso. You keep an eye on those nurses' bills. I'm going in to see our client. Miss Smith was lying there, pale face made paler by the whiteness of the sheets, the white hospital walls, the clinical smell of the room. You don't have to be sick to look sick in a hospital bed.
Oh. Hello, Mr. Regan.
You remember me?
You helped me, Mr. Regan. I won't forget that.
What does the doctor say?
Oh, I'll be all right. Really, I will. It's just my mind. I can't think straight.
But you remember about the gun, the 2 bullets missing?
Yes. Yes, I remember about them.
Do you remember anything more?
I don't think so.
About wanting to kill someone?
Oh, Mr. Regan.
You don't remember that part of it?
The doctor says it's shock. Something happened to me. Something I wanted to forget. Made me forget everything.
Murder might do that.
Yes, I suppose it might.
Does the name Parker mean anything to you?
No.
Parker Service, Westwood?
No, Mr. Regan.
How about Sarah Hanson?
No, Mr. Regan, I don't know that name.
Sarah Hanson, a blonde, pretty blonde.
No, I don't remember.
She worked for Parker Service in Westwood. You were in Westwood today, maybe at a small apartment on
Regan,
Bentley just past Pico.
That
mean anything to you, Miss Smith?
Leave me alone, leave me alone.
Okay, thanks. Thanks anyway.
Please leave me alone. Mr. Regan, leave me alone.
Somewhere the paths of Sarah Hanson and Miss Smith crossed. Somewhere their lives were woven in and out of each other until it was so mixed up and then it made sense. Simple, quick, easy sense. I left the hospital in a hurry, the cab was there, and I got in, and we drove and drove fast. First for a drugstore and a phone booth, then for Westwood.
Look, Mac, now that we're here, what are we doing here?
Visiting Joe.
Yeah, don't sound friendly somehow.
You sit tight, I'm going in.
Look, that house is dark. Nobody's home, Mac.
Maybe, maybe not. If I'm not out in 10 minutes, get to a phone and call the police. You got that?
Yeah, call the cops.
It was 50 feet back from the street. Not a mansion, not a little house. Grounds well kept, lawn neat and trimmed. I moved slowly up the walk toward the front door. The fog had settled on Westwood Village, and the soft dampness sifted under your clothes and made your skin turn cold. Up ahead, the dark house, waiting. I changed my mind, moved along the side of the house toward the fireplace. That might mean den, and the den might mean proof. Around back, a patio and French doors next to the red brick. Still no sounds from the dark house. I tried the French doors. It was the den. Books, heavy leather chair and desk. On the desk a photograph, too dark to see. I picked up the metal frame and lit a match. It fit. The final nail in a murderer's coffin.
You like the photograph? Get your hands off your gun, Mr. Regan. That's better. Only one of us needs a gun just now.
Just you, Parker.
The photograph is almost a perfect likeness, isn't it? Beautiful woman.
But not beautiful enough for you, was that it?
Beautiful but possessive. She didn't understand me.
And Sarah Hanson did.
Jane killed her.
So that's her name, Jane Parker.
Too bad you've never met her, Mr. Regan.
I've met her, Parker. In fact, I just left her less than 30 minutes ago.
It's a lie. You've never met my...
Your wife, Jane Parker. She asked for help.
Regan, you're lying.
You tell me a better story. Where is your wife?
I don't know.
But you'd like to, wouldn't you? You'd like to know so you could see her once more, so you could see her and shut her up.
She told you.
That you killed Sarah Hanson?
She was lying. She killed Sarah. There was a fight. Jane killed her in a jealous rage.
Then you're going to try to tell me Jane carried Sarah Hanson to her car, then took her to the beach, and then threw her body in the...
I left. I don't know what happened. It was Jane.
Jane carried a woman her size down to the ocean. Who do you think you can make believe that?
You're lying.
I'll tell you what really happened. Jane found out you were running around with another woman, Sarah Hanson. She phoned Sarah, tried to reason with her. Your wife was dumb enough to want to keep you. When Sarah wouldn't listen to reason, your wife went to see her.
You don't know what you're talking about.
She found you at Sarah Hanson's apartment on Bentley. There was a fight. You lost your temper, Parker. Only a man your size could have wrecked the place the way it is now.
No.
You shot and killed Sarah, and the shock was too much for your wife.
No.
Her mind went completely blank, rather than remember the nightmare she'd seen.
How do you know?
How? Because I know where your wife, Jane Parker, is right now.
She didn't tell you that. She wouldn't dare tell you.
Your wife disappeared after the shooting early this morning, didn't she, Parker? You didn't know where she'd gone. That's what you really wanted to find out from me when I was at your shop this afternoon.
You're making that up.
You were afraid then, and you're afraid now. Yet you didn't report to the police that your wife was missing. I checked that. You didn't want them to find her either. She could tell the real story.
Where is Jane, Mr. Regan?
You're wasting time.
Unless you tell me where my wife is, Mr. Regan, I'll put every bullet in this gun through your body.
And that still wouldn't stop your wife from talking, would it, Parker? That still wouldn't give you the answer to where she is now.
Tell me, Regan.
Go ahead. Shoot, Parker. Shoot and read the morning papers tomorrow. The headlines will tell how every cop on the West Coast is waiting to shoot you on sight.
Regan!
So you won't need that gun.
Let go!
You pulled the trigger on yourself, Parker. Too bad your aim wasn't better.
Dr. Dana. Dr. Stephen Dana.
$16 a day for room. Private nurse.
Hiya, Fatso.
No, don't bother me, Jeffrey. I'm very busy. A room at $16 a day.
How's our client, Lion? She doing okay?
$16 a day. Yeah, what's that, Jeffrey?
Miss Smith, our client.
Oh, you mean Jane Parker. Oh, why didn't you say so, Jeffrey? She's much better. Doctor says it'll take time, though. Let me see now. If you take 16 divided by...
He thinks she'll get her memory back, Lion.
What? Oh, yes. He thinks it's just a matter of time. Mental block, that sort of thing. Very complicated, you understand. Oh, hey, Jeffrey, it's been a long day. You must be tired.
I am a little. Come on, Fatso, I'll drive you home.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, home? No, you just run on, Jeffrey. I really couldn't leave just yet. You see, I've got it figured so the city will have to pay part of the hospital
you can figure that out at home, Fatso. You look tired.
Well, no. You see, Jeffrey, I'd better stay right here where I can get the cost firsthand. That way I'll have it accurate when I charge the city. You know me, Jeffrey. Business before pleasure.
Oh, yes, business before pleasure.
Yes, I'm not satisfied until I've completely finished the case. You look peaked, boy. You run along, get some sleep. Me, well, I'll just sit here and work finish my job.
I'm all ready, Mr. Lyon, if you are.
Yeah.
The night supervisor said it would be all right if I left early.
Yeah.
Isn't that just grand?
Well, good night, Jeffrey.
Good night, Fatso.
Jeff Regan Investigator was written tonight by William Frug, produced and directed by Sterling Tracy, and stars Paul Dubov as Regan with Frank Nelson as Anthony J. Lyon. Original music is by Dick Arant. Jeff Regan Investigator is heard each week at the same time over CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
From 74 years ago, April 26, 1950, Paul Dubov as Jeff Regan Investigator here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Visit our webpage at classicradio.stream. Coming up next, Claudia.
Excuse me, I'm a reporter. I'm doing a story about the post office, and I'd like to see how the mail is processed.
Be our guest, but better move back. Another truckload of mail is coming in. Hey, just pile it here, Harry.
Wow, that's a lot of mail.
Are you kidding? Those are just a few sacks. Dozens more come in every minute, loaded with letters that have to be sorted. The zip-coded ones are a snap. But those others, I'd like to talk to every person who sent a letter today without using zip code.
Yeah, what would you tell them?
I'd tell them their letters can hold up the works. Look, they'll be picking up the sorted mail in 5 minutes. Now, if every letter here had zip codes, they'd all make that pickup. But no, a lot of them will have to be sorted the old way. People who don't use zip codes are holding up the mail. Hey, that's a pretty good slogan. Why don't you print that?
I don't have to. You see, I'm a radio reporter. Your message is traveling all over the country right now.
No kidding. Say, can I just say one more thing?
Sure.
Hello, Sally. Hi, Ben. Hi, Susie. Hi, Sam.
And we wrap up this Friday episode of Classic Radio Theater with an episode of Claudia. This sweet little soap from 76 years ago, April 26, 1948. Shh, there are noises in the night.
Your Coca-Cola bottler presents Claudia, based on the famous play and novels by Rose Franken. Brought to you, transcribed Monday through Friday, by your friendly neighbor who bottles Coca-Cola. Relax, and while you're listening, refresh yourself. Have a Coke. And now, Claudia.
David, what was that?
Nothing.
The noisiest nothing I ever heard.
Darling, we're not in New York. We're in the country. Nothing happens in the middle of the night in the country.
Nothing?
Go back to sleep.
Say, I wonder if Mama heard it.
Heard what?
The nothing that made a noise. Well, I don't hear anything now. Maybe I dreamt it. Or is it dreamed it?
Imagined it.
Oh, nonsense. A person doesn't imagine when they're asleep.
I'm asleep, and I imagine that you're talking. At least I hope I'm imagining it. Good night, darling.
Good night. So quiet.
It's a shame to talk and not appreciate how quiet it is.
I like to talk in the middle of the night.
I know. There.
Oh.
I heard it this time.
Really? I didn't hear anything.
What was it?
You really thought you heard something?
It sounded like the garbage pail to me.
Darling, they don't collect the garbage at 2 in the morning. As a matter of fact, I've discovered in the country they don't collect it at all.
Well, I better go see what it is.
David, where are you going?
I'm going downstairs to see what's going on.
Oh, maybe it's...
Maybe it's what?
I don't know, but it's so dark in the middle of the night.
A very profound observation.
Don't go, David.
Darling, it isn't anything. Probably just a squirrel.
None of the squirrels I've known would be prowling around in the middle of the night. David, if it's a robber, just be nice and invite him in.
If it's a robber, he's in for a great disappointment. We don't have anything for him to rob.
David, can you hear me?
What is it?
Did you take a flashlight? David, I'm coming down. Darling, you all right? Oh, it's so quiet and dark. David? Is that you?
Darling, what are you doing standing down here in the hall? Why didn't you stay in bed?
Are you all right?
Certainly I'm all right.
Who was it? Or rather, what was it?
It was what was it?
Oh.
Come on.
Let's go up. I'm sleepy.
Well, what was it?
I asked him to please go, and he did.
Now, please be serious.
He was a lot smaller than I was.
That's good.
No confidence in your husband.
None at all. Whew, these stairs are getting steep.
Into bed with you.
I won't get into bed until you tell me what the what was and what the what wanted.
He was hungry.
Who was? Did you give him something to eat?
He helped himself.
I don't get it. In words of one syllable, what happened downstairs?
Come on into bed.
Oh, all right. There, I'm in bed. Now tell me. Because if you don't tell me this time, there won't be any sleeping in this house until you do.
What was that? It was the cat. What was that? It was the cat.
Shakespeare?
No, just a neighbor. A traveler in the night.
Oh.
You sound disappointed.
Oh, I'm not disappointed, but it's such a rumpus for just one little cat. I hope he found something to eat, poor little thing.
He was a big cat and quite able to take care of himself.
Anyway, I think you were very nasty to shoo him away. How would you like it if somebody did that to Shakespeare?
Well, if I were Shakespeare, I might take it amiss. But I, being me, I wouldn't give it a second thought.
Very unsympathetic of you.
Anyway, I think our visitor was more lonely than hungry.
You do?
Mm-hmm. You must get around to letting Shakespeare out so that he can meet his neighbor.
Shakespeare is a house cat.
It's high time he got to be a farm cat. How would you like to be locked up in the house all the time?
Ooh.
I wouldn't.
Well, I don't see what's so wonderful about being an outside cat. That poor little cat that was here tonight.
But cat likes that sort of thing.
I don't believe it.
They like prowling around at night.
Oh, nonsense.
It's the nature of the beast.
Shakespeare is not a beast.
That's exactly what's the matter with him. Let him out of the house so he can run in the fields and discover the world he lives in.
Shakespeare would rather stay in the house with us and be a house cat.
Shakespeare would rather go out and catch himself a nice field mouse.
It might interest you to know that Shakespeare does not like mice. One walked in front of him the other day. No interest at all.
You ought to be ashamed to admit it.
What do you mean?
First thing in the morning, I'm going to let that cat out of the house and introduce him to nature.
You will not. He'll get lost.
Well, if he gets lost, he'll find himself again. You can't lock him up forever, you know.
Shakespeare does not consider himself locked up.
Much. Now look at that cat tonight. He's learned to take care of himself. Nature meant him to go out.
I don't trust nature so much.
Do you trust me?
I don't know. You have a funny look in your eye.
It's just sleep.
Oh, is that what it is?
I have to catch the train in the morning, so shh.
Oh, all right. If you don't want to talk.
I don't. How'd you guess it?
I was just about to say, darling.
If you're not sleepy, count sheep. It helps.
All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Count them under your breath. That helps more.
Aren't you a little stuffy? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, how'd you like another cup of coffee?
I would love another cup of coffee.
You would?
Mm-hmm. What's the matter?
What's the matter? Couldn't you sleep? Counting sheep helps.
Oh, I slept all right. Finally.
Oh, careful. The coffee's boiling hot.
Ouch. That'll be enough.
Cream?
Oh, good morning, cat.
His name is Shakespeare.
It's such a big name for such a little cat.
He wants some of that cream, so go easy on it.
You feed him cream?
I passed the cream pitcher under his nose when I put down his saucer of milk. He's such a dope, he thinks he's drinking the cream.
The way you spoil that cat. I should think you'd stop molly-coddling him. Well, what's the matter with him?
Nothing. He often meows when he sits on the window just looking out.
He wants out.
Ridiculous. He's perfectly happy, and he's just talking to himself, that's all. Well, I often talk to myself, don't you?
Oh, all the time, all the time.
Of course.
Maybe our visitor from last night is outside.
You think that's who Shakespeare sees?
We'll soon find out. Shakespeare, my boy, how would you like to go forth into the cold, cold world?
David, if you dare.
What?
Besides, I'll bet even if you open the front door wide, he won't go out.
How much you want to bet,
Well, I don't want to bet anything. I just don't want you to open that door.
Sissy.
Shakespeare, you don't want to go out, do you, sweetie?
Come on, Shakespeare. Here is your chance.
You don't have to go out, Shakespeare, if you don't want to. Nobody's going to make you. David, if anything happens to him...
Nothing will, nothing will. There.
You see? He hasn't moved.
Come on, boy. Come on. Now, there's a beautiful big friend out there waiting for you. Come on.
I told you he was a house cat and you wouldn't believe me, see? David! He went.
Of course he went, like a shot.
He's running across the driveway. I'll never see him again.
Well, now, stop worrying, darling.
If he eats one of our birds, I'll never forgive you. Shakespeare, come back here. David, I can't see him anymore.
Well, he's out in the world now. He's put on long pants.
What's so wonderful about long pants?
Oh, he's a big boy.
He's climbing a tree. David, stop him.
That's that a boy. Cats love climbing trees.
He's almost to the top. Shakespeare, come on down. You know, I never really thought he'd make it all the way up there.
That's the trouble with you. No confidence in man or nature.
Made it look awfully easy, too. What about coming down?
Oh, it's even easier. Well, I guess I better start catching that train.
Aren't you going to wait till he comes down from the tree?
What for?
Well, just in case that... David, now he's crying.
Is that crying?
And he's shaking like a leaf. He wants to come down and he can't.
Well, why on earth can't he?
Well, why? Why? Because he doesn't know how, obviously.
Well, let him learn how.
Very funny. Oh, look at him. His hair's sticking up like a pincushion. Oh, Shakespeare, everything's going to be all right now. Just come down slowly.
One paw at a time.
David, if you're not going to do anything about it, I'm going to call the fire department.
You will do nothing of the sort.
People always call the fire department when cats are caught in trees.
Well, we're not people, and Shakespeare is not just an ordinary, everyday cat.
He certainly isn't.
Now, our cat can get himself down from that tree, or he can jolly well stay up there until he gets the courage to get himself down.
It's not a matter of courage. It's a matter of talent.
Oh, he has that, too.
The trouble is, all of a sudden, you've got so proud and manly about Shakespeare.
Well, I've got to catch my train. If Shakespeare is still up in the tree when I get home tonight, I'll climb up after him.
But you can't leave him up there all day.
How would you like to take the car out of the garage, darling?
Don't do me any favors, thank you. I'm not going near that car until Shakespeare is on dry land again.
Every cloud has a silver lining.
I know what I'll do. I'll put a little saucer of cream under the tree. He'll come down for that.
Molly coddling.
You'll be down in a minute, Shakespeare. Stop fussing. I'm going to get you some lovely cream.
Well, you'd better hurry, or you won't get a chance to say goodbye to me. I'm putting on my coat.
Be right there.
I didn't realize it was so late. Well, look who's here. Hello, Shakespeare. Hey, darling, guess who just walked in the front door?
Who?
Shakespeare. Hey, and look who else is here.
Well, you talented cat. I knew you'd come down. Hello. Who's your friend, Shakespeare?
That's our visitor from last night.
Shakespeare's visitor now.
He has quite a lot of influence on him, hasn't she?
I guess maybe cats get lonesome, too. For other cats, I mean.
And in the spring, boys like girls.
And I'm certainly glad you like me, darling. Because without you, I'd certainly be up a tree. Dum, 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 la, 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 la. La, 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 la.
Having a party? You may have to stop and figure out what the eats will be. But when it comes to drinks, just ask your grocer or service station attendant to put a case of Coke in the car. With plenty of Coca-Cola in the house, you have the refreshment situation well in hand. And Coke is only a nickel a bottle, a point well worth considering these days when we're all budget conscious.
Say, Joe, did you ever own a cat?
Well, once I did, David, but Skeezix, that was his name, went out, and instead of bringing his friends home, Skeezix never came back.
Oh, a gypsy cat. Well, I think Shakespeare will come home every time, especially after tomorrow when he sees just where our property ends.
Why? What's happening tomorrow, David?
I've made an appointment with Matthew Warren. He's our neighbor to the north. We're meeting to mend our walls.
An old New England custom, isn't it? Two neighbors meeting to rebuild their fences.
I'm looking forward to it, too. And so's Claudia.
And so am I. I'll see you tomorrow, David, where the Nortons meet the Warrens.
And where Claudia learns that good fences make good neighbors. So long, Joe.
Bye, David. As I was saying, every day, Monday through Friday, Claudia comes to you transcribed with the best wishes of your friendly neighbor who bottles Coca-Cola. So listen again tomorrow at the same time. And now this is Joe King saying au revoir. And remember, whoever you are, whatever you do, wherever you may be, when you think of refreshment, think of Coca-Cola. For Coca-Cola makes any pause the pause that refreshes. And ice-cold Coca-Cola is everywhere. These broadcasts are adapted for radio by Manya and Roger Starr, and the entire production is supervised and directed by William Brown Maloney. And now here's a word from your friendly neighbor who bottles Coca-Cola.
I am not, nor have I ever been, a Coca-Cola bottler. From 76 years ago, April 26, 1948, Claudia, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. As I said earlier, comedy this weekend with The Magnificent Montague, starring Monty Woolley, You Bet Your Life with Groucho Marx, Olin Soleil and Barbara Luddy in an episode of the First Nighter program, the CBS Radio Workshop, The Record Collectors, a farce more than a comedy, and Claudia. That'll all be up on our next Classic Radio Theater podcast. And then on Sunday, My Friend Irma, Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis, Abbott and Costello, The Halls of Ivy, and Superman. Look forward to seeing you the next time we get together for more Classic Radio Theater. I'm Wyatt Cox.